Chapter 36-29. Stairway to Heaven. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stood on the stairway, one on the left and the other on the right. The lightning tribulation around them was like a storm, bombarding their bodies. It was no exaggeration to say that the power of the lightning tribulation could kill a sovereign in a few breaths. Fortunately, the man and the wolf had broken the limit of their physical bodies. The strength of the supreme level was still bearable at the moment. It's not a big deal. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the lightning tribulation around him and laughed. Don't be careless. It's just the beginning. Qin Feiyang looked up and scanned the stairway from bottom to top. 999 steps. For him and the white-eyed wolf, it was just a step away. However, there was not only the lightning tribulation on the stairway, but also a terrifying pressure that made his body feel like it was in a quagmire. The most important thing was, this pressure also seemed to contain a power that restricted his mystique, preventing him from teleporting or activating his assist-type mystique. The distance of one step could not reach 10,000 miles at the peak. Now he was like an ordinary person. For every step he could only take one step. In other words, he could only take one step at a time to reach the top of the stairway. Soon, the man and the wolf stepped on the 100th step. The 100th step was slightly wider than the other steps, about 1 meter wide. It should be a place for people to rest temporarily. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stood on the stairway and did not feel too much pressure. The lightning tribulation around them was still bearable. It can't be. They climbed the 100th step so easily. I remember that there was one last time. He was also a sovereign. When he climbed the 100th step, his body started to break. Below, someone exclaimed in disbelief. What's so surprising about this? They have already broken the limit of their physical bodies. The current power of the lightning tribulation can't threaten them at all. However, humph, when they reach the 500th step, they will slowly taste the taste of despair. Qiyu snorted. Breaking the limits of the physical body? They can even do this. Many people in the Qilin clan did not know that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf had already broken through the limits of their physical bodies. Therefore, when they heard this, they could not help but feel shocked. He said bluntly, breaking through the limits of one's physical body was even harder than comprehending an ultimate law. Because even if it was their Qilin clan, there was not a single person who could break through the limits of the fleshly body. Not to mention the Qilin clan, even in the entire Sky Cloud realm, including the various forbidden areas, there were probably only a handful of them. This man and wolf were indeed monstrous talents. As for breaking the limits of the physical body, everyone from the Qilin clan exclaimed in admiration. But what followed was regret. Originally, they all had great futures ahead of them, but because of a moment of impulse, they ignored the advice of others and stepped onto the lightning punishment heavenly stairs, wasting their talents for nothing. Stairway to Heaven. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf took another step forward and headed up. Several hundred breaths passed. The man and the wolf finally reached the 500th step. The tribulation here was completely different. Even their physical bodies began to feel threatened. Crack! Boom! As the tribulation lightning fell, it continuously struck their bodies, causing bloody scars to appear on their bodies. A good show has officially begun. Qiyu pursed his lips into a cold smile. The stairway to heaven had a total of 999 steps. The first 500 steps were nothing at all. Anyone with the ability would be able to successfully climb up. But the next few hundred steps could be said to be a natural moat. Once, the people of the Qilin clan who were punished basically died between the 500th and 600th steps. No one had ever been able to surpass this limit. Just as Qiyu's imagination was running wild, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf took another step forward, and they directly stepped onto the 700th step in a spurt of energy. What? Not only Qiyu but Qi Xiong and the others, as well as the surrounding Qilin clan members, were all dumbfounded as they looked at the two figures on the stairway to heaven. They actually climbed the 700th step without panting? It must be fake. Was the elder ancestor secretly helping them? Don't worry. They must be able to climb the 700th step because their physical bodies are strong. Yes. They broke the limit of their physical bodies. Their endurance is naturally stronger than those who have died on the stairway to heaven. I bet that they definitely won't be able to reach the 800th step. The prince and princess of the 9 clans sneered. When Chiyu heard that, he also felt that it made sense. He couldn't help but sneer. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. After reaching the 700th step, their bodies were almost completely mangled and blood flowed all over the ground. They are indeed quite powerful. But that's all there is to it. The white-eyed wolf cackled. A majestic life force emerged and shrouded him in Qin Feiyang. That was the law of life. Qin Feiyang also had a trace of a smile on his face. Although his injuries were a little serious with the law of life, it was nothing. But the next moment, their expressions stiffened and they turned to look at each other, their eyes full of disbelief. At this moment, the life force around them was clearly visible. Moreover, they could also clearly feel that the life force was madly pouring into their bodies. But, in the face of such majestic life force, the injuries on their bodies didn't show any signs of recovery? What the hell? One had to know. The law of life that the white-eyed wolf had plundered had reached the level of the supreme profound meaning. Not long ago in the battle in the galaxy, the healing effect brought by Qi Yefeng's law of life was obvious to all. Even 6,000 supreme nomological laws couldn't destroy her physical body. Therefore, the healing effect of the life nomological law could only be described as terrifying. But now, such a powerful law of life couldn't heal the injuries on their bodies? This was very difficult for them to accept. Naive. This scene was also seen by Qi Xiong and the others. There was a trace of ridicule at the corner of their mouths. If the law of life was useful, then Qi Yefeng would have relied on it to reach the top of the stairway to heaven long ago. It wasn't just the law of life. On the thunder punishment stairway, any law was useless. One could only rely on one's own ability to reach the top. This was the most terrifying part of the thunder punishment stairway to heaven. But on the stairway to heaven, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf didn't panic. What a joke. They hadn't experienced any risks all the way to this day. How could such a small matter affect their state of mind? Discovering this abnormality, the man and the wolf immediately took a step forward. As they walked up the stairway to heaven, they carefully observed. Because the truth was already set. Even if they stayed on the 700th step, it wouldn't change anything. On the contrary, now that they were in danger, the more they stayed on the steps, the more dangerous it would be. So, it was better to observe as they walked. When they reached the 750th step, they finally found the reason. It turned out that the thunder tribulation was causing trouble. This thunder tribulation contained an ability that could destroy the law of life and heal. It was precisely because of the destruction of the thunder tribulation that the law of life couldn't heal the injuries on their bodies. After finding this reason, the man and the wolf naturally didn't dare to stay any longer. They rushed up the 800th step in one breath. The injuries on their bodies became more and more serious. Even the bones in their flesh and blood could be seen. To actually be able to reach the 800th step and break the limits of the physical body, is the physical body so strong? From the time I was born until now, this is the first time I've seen someone reach this step. The key is still a mere human and a lowly wolf. The younger generation of the Kirin clan was shocked to the extreme when they saw this scene. It's impossible to succeed. The last 199th step is the real impasse. Chiyu clenched his hands tightly. This had already far exceeded his expectations. He originally thought that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf would at most reach the 700th step. But now, they had actually succeeded in reaching the 800th step. Although they were also riddled with scars, no one in the entire Kirin clan could compare to this achievement. Because of this, it made him jealous. As a peerless genius of the Kirin clan, he didn't even have the courage to step onto the thunder punishment stairway. But not only did the man and the wolf take the initiative to come, but they also surpassed the limits left by their former clansmen again and again. He was not convinced. These two damned outsiders must die on the stairway to heaven. On the stairway, facing the endless thunder tribulation, the white-eyed wolf also felt a trace of fear in his heart. He turned to Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "Hurry up and take out the divine life pill." Their interspatial rings had been sent to the ancient castle in advance, so now they had to go through Qin Feiyang's hands. Only then could the white-eyed wolf get the law of life. Qin Feiyang nodded. With a thought, 2 divine life pills appeared. one for each person, and quickly swallowed them. However, an unexpected scene happened again. After the divine life pill entered the body, it was destroyed by the thunder tribulation and lost its effect. Damn it! The white-eyed wolf shouted angrily. Although the fire Qilin and Princess Huafeng repeatedly said that the thunder punishment stairway was terrifying, they didn't say that even the law of life and the divine life pill were useless. The thunder tribulation was getting stronger and stronger, and the injuries were getting worse and worse. If they couldn't recover, how could they reach the top? We choose the path ourselves. No matter how dangerous it is, we have to face it. Qin Feiyang grabbed the white-eyed wolf and continued to walk up. Even if the fire Qilin told him this in advance, he would still choose to step onto the thunder punishment stairway. He believed the white-eyed wolf was the same. If he wanted to become stronger, he would have to pay the same price. In this world, there was no such thing as a free lunch. There was also no such thing as a free lunch in front of you. Everything had to be fought for with your own hands. See, now is the best part of the show. Qi Yu glanced at the princes and princesses and sneered. Hearing this, the 9 of them looked up at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf with gloating smiles on their faces. This was the price of overestimating oneself. Did he think that he had the ability to be arrogant and had the ability to withstand the power of the stairway just because he broke the limit of his body? What a joke. Chapter 36:30. At the same time, Princess Huafeng retracted her worried gaze and asked the fire Qilin through voice transmission, "Why didn't you tell them in advance that the divine life pill and the law of life are useless on the stairway? Even if I told them, they would still choose to climb the stairway." The fire Qilin thought. Princess Huafeng said angrily, "Even if that's the case, they would still be mentally prepared if they knew in advance. That way, they wouldn't be so helpless and flustered." Flustered? The fire Qilin shook his head with a smile and said, "Looks like you don't understand them. I don't dare to say anything about the white-eyed wolf, but Qin Feiyang is someone who will remain calm the more dangerous the situation is." Princess Huafeng frowned when she heard that. After climbing the stairway, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf could only see their backs. Thus, when she heard the fire Qilin's words, she couldn't help but wonder if the man and the wolf were flustered. Logically speaking, in the face of such a sudden change, no matter who it was, they would definitely panic. But Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, it was hard to say. "To be honest," said the fire Qilin, "I didn't know there were so many details about the stairway." The fire Qilin smiled awkwardly. "You didn't know?" Princess Huafeng was astonished. "Yes. Back then, when I arrived at the Qilin Holy Land, I stayed by my master's side and cultivated. I didn't pay much attention to anything unrelated to me, including the stairway. You, on the other hand, since you know about the stairway, you should know about these details as well, right?" The fire Qilin looked at Princess Huafeng doubtfully. "I only heard about it from my father once. I didn't ask about it. Many years ago, I did come to the Qilin Holy Land once, but I only stayed for half a day. During that time, I was playing with Big Brother Xiaoyun and didn't pay attention to these details." Princess Huafeng shook her head. "Playing with Qi Xiaoyun?" The fire Qilin blanked out and asked curiously, "Playing with what? You're still in the mood to ask?" Princess Huafeng rolled her eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, worry in her eyes. The fire Qilin's eyes widened in astonishment. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf before looking at Princess Huafeng and asked, "Are you worried about Qin Feiyang or the white-eyed wolf?" Princess Huafeng's expression stiffened. She angrily said, "None of your business." "Haha." The fire Qilin laughed dryly and asked honestly, "How much do you know about Qi Xiaoyun?" "What?" Princess Fire Phoenix looked at the fire Qilin in surprise. The fire Qilin thought, although I've been in the Qilin Holy Land for so many years, I've only met him a few times. Moreover, each time I met him it was by chance. Thus I don't know anything about him. But I can feel that he is somewhat unfathomable. Princess Huafeng nodded in realization. She transmitted, "I haven't had much contact with him either. My impression of him is that he is like an intimate big brother." "Why? Are you suspecting something?" "Nothing. I'm just curious. After all, it's natural to be curious about someone you can't see through." The fire Qilin shook his head and looked at the stairway. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf had reached the 850th step. They looked extremely miserable. One of Qin Feiyang's arms had been destroyed by the lightning tribulation. The white-eyed wolf was in the same state. Purplish gold dragon blood and golden wolf blood dyed the stairway red. This is more like it. The white-eyed wolf couldn't help but roar with laughter. Although the rules here annoyed him, that did not mean he regretted it. On the contrary, only in such a desperate situation could his fighting spirit be stimulated. Still laughing. This guy must be crazy. Everyone was speechless. Qiyu said sarcastically, at this point, is there still a need to think? They must have been driven crazy. It will be their time of death soon. But, not long after his voice fell, a man and a wolf rushed side by side and directly rushed to the 900th step. Qiyu's body suddenly stiffened. What the hell was going on? His injuries were already so serious. How could he still climb the 900th step? Lightning tribulation, I beg you, quickly kill them. Let their souls be destroyed and never be reincarnated. He roared in his heart. Qi Xiong and the 9 clan patriarchs also had gloomy faces. The current result had far exceeded their expectations. From ancient times until now, except for the white-bearded old man, no one could reach the 700th step, let alone the 900th step. Looking at this situation, could they really succeed in reaching the top? No. Lightning punishment stairway, you must kill them. Qi Xiong also roared in his heart. If this man and wolf really succeeded in reaching the top, he would have to kneel down and kowtow 3 times in public. Such a shameful thing, no matter what, he couldn't do it. But now, he couldn't interfere. So he could only pray for the lightning punishment stairway in his heart. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf again. After reaching the 900th step, the power of the lightning tribulation soared again. Not only was the physical body suffering a destructive blow, even the qi was on the verge of collapse. This time, they couldn't stay, because resting here would only make their injuries worse. Boom! Qin Feiyang took a step forward and climbed to the 901st step. At the same time, he activated the battle character secret art. However, although the battle character secret art had now been upgraded to the supreme level, under this lightning tribulation, it had no ability to resist at all. It collapsed in an instant. It's useless. Now the power of this lightning tribulation, no supreme level secret art or artifact can stop it. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. His badly mutilated face looked quite ferocious. Qin Feiyang was silent and lowered his head to move forward. Crack! When they climbed to the 911th step, the qi of 1 man and 1 wolf finally reached the limit and shattered with a loud bang. If they were fighting with the enemy, once the qi shattered, it would be fatal. But now, for Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, it didn't have much impact. Because all along, they had been relying on their physical body to resist the lightning tribulation. However, the crisis also came with it. The sea of consciousness was also on the verge of shattering. The sea of consciousness was different from the qi. If the sea of consciousness was shattered, they would still have to rely on their powerful physical body. But once the sea of consciousness was shattered, the divine soul would be obliterated by the lightning tribulation. At that time, even the gods couldn't save them. Life and death were hanging by a thread. 1 man and 1 wolf gritted their teeth and desperately rushed up. But their injuries were too serious. Not to mention rushing up to the top in a short time, even lifting their feet was very difficult now. A strong sense of weakness swept over him. If it were anyone else encountering such a desperate situation, they would have already lost all hope and stopped here to wait for death. But Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, although physically and mentally weak, still had a determined light in their eyes. 1 step, 2 steps. After a long period of suffering, they finally climbed to the 950th step. It was also at this moment. The white-eyed wolf's body shook violently and fell down. Seeing that the situation was not good, Qin Feiyang quickly reached out and grabbed the white-eyed wolf, shouting, "Bastard, can you do it? If you can't, don't come here to show off." "Fuck. Who can't do it?" The white-eyed wolf roared, stabilized his body, and coldly snorted. "Let's see who will fall first in the end." Qin Feiyang's eyes had a trace of a smile. Although it was difficult for them to even speak now, their trust in each other had never been less. They believed that whether it was him or the other party, they would definitely succeed in reaching the top in the end. Still not falling? Damn it, damn it. Looking at Qi Xiong and his son again. The two of them clenched their hands tightly, their eyes wide open in anger, and their expressions were almost crazy. They had already reached the 950th step, but they were still not dead. Were they really two monsters? Qi Ji's eyes flickered, and he sent a sound transmission. Old Bai, what do you think? The white-bearded old man looked at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf, and said with a faint smile, whether they can successfully reach the top today or not, they will leave an immortal legend in the Qilin Holy Land. Because no one had ever reached the 950th step, even if they died on the heaven stairway, it would be passed down by the Qilin clan for generations. You know that's not what I'm asking. I want to know if it's possible for them to successfully reach the top. Qi Ji raised his eyebrows. I don't dare to talk nonsense, it depends on their own ability. The white-bearded old man shook his head. At this moment, the entire place was dead silent. Even if there were people talking, they were communicating secretly. Their gazes were fixed on the two figures who were struggling to climb and were on the verge of collapse. White-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyong suddenly spoke. His voice was hoarse and weak. What? The white-eyed wolf replied weakly. This scene reminds me of the scene when I climbed the stone stairs in front of the pill hall in order to find the marrow-cleansing pill in Iron Bull Town. At that time I was a real cripple. For me at that time that stone stairs was an insurmountable moat, but it was also a path to heaven. Because only by reaching the top I could get the marrow-cleansing pill. With the marrow-cleansing pill, I could return to the path of cultivation and take back everything I had lost. Qin Feiyong muttered. Although he was in the midst of the endless lightning tribulation, he could no longer feel the pain because he was already numb, and even his consciousness was fading. I know, you said before that you finally reached the top, but you were kicked down by Ma Hongmei and almost fell to your death, the white-eyed wolf replied, and his voice was also weak and weak. Now, they were completely relying on their willpower to move their bodies forward. Yes, I almost regretted it for the rest of my life. Thinking about the past, we were able to endure so many hardships. Now how can we stop here? Don't forget, our goal is not the sky cloud realm. Qin Feiyong's mouth was brimming with a smile. I know our goal has always been the ice dragon, the small beast, the god of creation, surpassing the laws of the world, breaking the shackles of heaven and earth, and truly arriving at the outer world. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at Qin Feiyong. His blood-stained eyes also revealed a trace of a smile. At the same time, boom! A shocking aura erupted from the body of the man and the wolf. This was not the aura of cultivation, nor the aura of physical strength, but their spirit and will. Even the heavens can't stop our footsteps, let alone a mere heaven stairway. As long as life exists, our will never be extinguished. With my blood, I will crush the heavens and earth. The man and the wolf roared at the same time, shaking the 9 heavens. That inextinguishable spirit and will turned into an invisible storm, sweeping in all directions. Even the thunder punishment stairway couldn't help but tremble at this moment. Chapter 3 Release at 10 a.m. Chapter 36-31. What's going on? This sudden scene caused everyone present to turn pale with fright. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf, who were on the verge of death. Why did they suddenly burst out with such a terrifying aura? The white-bearded old man's pupils constricted as he exclaimed, "This is the manifestation of spirit and willpower. As long as they live, their willpower will never be extinguished. These two little guys are really geniuses." I don't agree with that. Qi Ji shook his head. Huh. The white-bearded old man looked at Qi Ji suspiciously. Spirit and willpower have nothing to do with talent. This is based on later cultivation. Of course, their talent can't be denied. But I'm more curious about what they've experienced along the way to be able to train such a terrifying willpower. Qi Ji also felt extremely incredulous. Not to mention the younger generation, even the older generation like them felt inferior. No matter how talented they are, they definitely can't reach the top. When Qi Xiong heard the conversation between the two, his face suddenly became incomparably ferocious. He stared at the thunder tribulation on the thunder punishment stairway. He must stop the two of them. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were like two overlords standing between heaven and earth. Although their physical bodies were still being destroyed by the thunder tribulation bit by bit, their footsteps never stopped. And every step was as steady as Mount Tai. 20 steps. 18 steps. 15 steps. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to the top, everyone present held their breaths. Especially the fire Qilin Tanwu, the Hell Godhound, and the Divine Beast Uncle. Their expressions were filled with anticipation and nervousness. Their hearts were like a roller coaster, rising and falling. But Qi Xiong and his son, the 9 clan leaders, the princes and princesses of the 9 clans, were going crazy with hatred at this moment. How could a human, a lowly wolf, have such ability? No, I don't believe it. This must be a dream. Thunder punishment stairway, I beg you, quickly end their lives. They kept roaring in their hearts. Especially Qi Xiong and Qi Yu. If it weren't for the power of the thunder tribulation, they would have rushed up by now. 10 steps. 8 steps. 5 steps. At this moment, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were only 5 steps away from the summit. They could already see the summit. The peak was shrouded in dark clouds. Through the dark clouds they could vaguely see a stone platform that was several meters wide, exuding an ancient and mysterious aura. This was the pinnacle. However, right at this moment, accompanied by a loud clang, a sharp sword light shot towards Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf like lightning. Everyone was shocked. Following closely, everyone's eyes instantly locked onto the sword light. This was the sword light of a sovereign-level divine weapon. Qi Xiong, what are you doing? The fire Qilin roared. Qi Xiong. Everyone was stunned and looked at Qi Xiong. Qi Xiong was filled with murderous intent and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. He was holding a battle sword in his hand. This sword was Qi Yefeng's sovereign divine weapon. Sword of the Grim Reaper, Horsetail Whisk, quick! Princess Huafeng came back to her senses and shouted. The sword of the Grim Reaper and the Horsetail Whisk were originally staring at Qi Xiong and the others. However, seeing that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were about to reach the summit, they could not help but watch them with anticipation. Moreover, this matter had been approved by the master of the Qilin. No matter how bold Qi Xiong was, he would not dare to act recklessly. However, they did not expect that he would be so bold as to dare to make a move under the master of the Qilin's nose. Hearing Princess Huafeng's roar, the 2 sovereign divine weapons immediately flew out to intercept the sword light. Die! Qi Xiong smiled coldly. Was it too late to intercept them now? As for the master of the Qilin, at worst he would just be punished. As long as he could get rid of this man and the wolf, it would be worth it even if he was punished. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf again, they acted as if they did not see the incoming sword light and stepped onto the 997th step. They did not stop. They stepped onto the 998th step. At this moment, the sword light had already arrived behind them. Seeing that they were about to die, with a loud clang, the ancient castle appeared out of thin air and blocked the sword light forcefully behind the man and the wolf. Dong! At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stepped onto the 999th step at the same time and successfully reached the top. The moment they reached the top, the whole place fell into dead silence again. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, who were standing at the top, with surging waves in their hearts. They actually succeeded in reaching the top. At this moment, in their eyes, these 2 bloody and extremely weak figures were as tall as 2 ancient gods. Soon, the fire Qilin Tanwu, Uncle Divine Beast, and the infernal Divine Hound cheered. Princess Huafeng was also overjoyed. Qiji, the white-bearded old man, and the other clansmen of the Qilin clan were also amazed and showed admiration. However, Qi Xiong and the others were livid, especially Qi Xiong. He was angry and couldn't extricate himself. His arms were also trembling, and the battle sword made a clanging sound. You're courting death. The sword of Thanatos and Horsetail Whisk were also sincerely happy for Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Then they turned their swords and attacked Qi Xiong with destructive power. Because before stepping onto the stairway to heaven, Qin Feiyang had told them that if anyone dared to have any thoughts, they would be killed without mercy. Even though they were now in the Qilin sacred ground, even though Qi Xiong was Qiji's brother, they absolutely couldn't forgive him. Have mercy. Qi hurriedly cried out when he saw this. But the two sovereign divine weapons turned a deaf ear to him. When Qi Xiong attacked before, he didn't speak up. Now that he wanted to kill his brother, he ran out to stop him. How could he be so hypocritical? Qi looked up at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, who were standing at the top, and said, Qin Feiyang, golden-winged wolf king, I apologize to you on behalf of Qi Xiong. Who needs to apologize to them? If you want to fight, then fight. I am a dignified Qilin clan. Why would I be afraid of these two little bastards? Qi Xiong roared, holding his battle sword. He charged towards the top of the stairway to heaven. Back down. However, at this moment, a hoarse voice rang out. Following closely, on the thunder punishment stairway, a bolt of lightning cut through the sky and entered Qi Xiong's Qi Si. Ah! Qi Xiong screamed on the spot, and a bloody hole appeared in his lower abdomen, blood gushing out. Ancestor! The patriarchs of the 9 clans wanted to help Qi Xiong. But when they saw this situation, they were immediately scared out of their wits. Especially Qi Yefeng, because she was the one who gave the sovereign divine weapon to Qi Xiong. Qi Xiong stabilized his body, looked at the bloody hole in his lower abdomen, and roared with a face full of unwillingness. Ancestor, they are just outsiders. Why are you protecting them? Qi Xiong, how dare you? Qi Ji's expression changed. He actually dared to openly contradict the ancestor. He went up and slapped Qi Xiong hard on the face and secretly shouted, Do you really want to die? I didn't see that the ancestor was saving you. Otherwise, do you think Qin Feiyang and the others would let you go? You don't know what's good for you. Qi Xiong's eyes trembled. The voice of the Qilin Lord sounded again. Qi Yefeng, if you can't even keep the sovereign divine weapon, then from now on, you don't need to be the patriarch of the Wood Qilin clan anymore. Qi Yefeng suddenly quivered, hurriedly knelt in the void, and cried out in horror. Ancestor, please have mercy. I won't dare to do it again in the future. I beg the ancestor to give me a way out. Not to mention Qi Yefeng and the others, even the sovereign divine weapon in Qi Xiong's hand did not dare to be rash. It hurriedly broke free and flew in front of Qi Yefeng, as obedient as a little sheep. What a disgrace to my Qilin clan. The Qilin Lord coldly snorted. The person still did not appear. However, as his voice fell, 2 rays of divine light broke through the air and landed in front of Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, saying, This is the super forbidden technique that this sovereign promised to give you. Heal your injuries and leave quickly. As for Qi Xiong, you can't kill him. After that, the voice of the Qilin Lord never sounded again. The scene fell into dead silence again. Everyone looked at Qi Xiong and Qi Yefeng with a look of sympathy. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, their faces were filled with envy. Not only did they successfully reach the peak of the thunder punishment heavenly stairway, they also received 2 super forbidden techniques from the Qilin Lord. It could be said that they had gained both fame and fortune. However, why didn't they say anything? From the moment they reached the peak, the 2 of them had been standing there motionless. Even when faced with Qi Xiong's sneak attack, they did not say a word. Actually, it wasn't that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf didn't want to speak, it was that they couldn't. Before they reached the peak, they were already exhausted, let alone now. When they reached the peak, they had completely lost their strength. The accumulated weakness had also swarmed over them. Not to mention speaking, even standing up was trembling. The most important thing was, their sea of consciousness and divine soul had also suffered heavy injuries, and their consciousness was being engulfed by the darkness. It's a success, right? The white-eyed wolf's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. This was a communication of consciousness. Yes, we can have a good rest now. Immediately, 1 man and 1 wolf fell head first onto the stone platform, falling into a deep coma. The dark clouds around them gradually submerged them. Are they all right? Princess Huafeng was shocked. Fire Unicorn Tan Wu, Hell Godhound, and Uncle Divine Beast were also worried. They should have just fainted. The white-bearded old man laughed. Should? Why did these words sound so unreliable? Tan Wu asked. Is there any way to go up and give them the pills? The white-bearded old man said. If you have the confidence to pass the thunder punishment heavenly stairway, you can go up and give it a try. When Tan Wu heard this, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. They're fine. The voice of the ancient castle sounded in the minds of Tanwu and the others. The group of people looked up and saw the ancient castle floating at the peak, as if it was protecting Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. The ancient castle definitely wouldn't lie to them. His heart that was hanging in the air could finally be put down. Pyrotechnic Glow rolled his eyes and turned to look at Princess Huafeng, asking, "Sis, I'm also very curious, are you worried about Qin Feiyang or the white-eyed wolf?" Scram. If you have the time, you might as well learn from Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and work hard to increase your strength and value. Princess Huafeng glared at him. This time, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf not only gained fame and fortune, but also increased their potential value. Because it was not difficult to see from the Lord of Kirin's previous attitude that the Lord of Kirin admired Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf very much. Similarly, when this matter spread to the Feng people and dragons, it would definitely cause a huge sensation, even alarming the dragons in Feng Ho. Learn from them? Do you think everyone is a monster like them? Pyrotechnic Glow pursed his lips. I'll learn it first, but my strength doesn't allow me. What should I do? Princess Huafeng wanted to refute, but for a moment, she really couldn't find a reason to. The reason for that was because those two fellows were truly monsters. Chapter 36-32. Whoosh! Qiji looked at the top of the heaven stairway and took a deep breath. He looked at his clansmen and waved his hand. Disperse. Everyone hadn't seen enough. They wanted to see what would happen to Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf after they woke up. But since the Fire Qilin Patriarch had already spoken, they didn't dare to disobey and left in groups of 2s and 3s. Very quickly, only Tanwu, Princess Huafeng, and Qi Xiong were left. Qiji looked at Qi Xiong and the others and said helplessly, "You guys go back too." How would the 9 patriarchs dare to stay? They had already angered the old ancestor. If this continued, it would be difficult for them to get away with it. Especially Qi Yefeng. Although her body was destroyed and the law of life was stolen, she didn't dare to act rashly because the Qilin Patriarch's scolding had almost scared her soul away. The princesses and princes of the 9 clans naturally didn't dare to stay and left with the 9 patriarchs. Qiji looked at Qi Xiong and his son and frowned. What are you still standing here for? Go back and reflect on your actions. Especially Qiyu. You've been stirring up trouble time and time again. Otherwise, you would have been killed by Qin Feiyang and the others long ago. Qiyu shrank his neck. Qiji said in a deep voice, I don't want to see this happen again. Go back and reflect on your mistakes. Without my orders, you are not allowed to step out of the house. Yes, uncle. Qiyu responded respectfully. Even though he was very unwilling to accept this, he could only swallow his anger and wait for the ancestor to calm down before making further plans. After all, no one dared to touch this bad luck. Qi Xiong looked at Qiji, and then looked up at the top of the mountain with hatred. He said in a deep voice, let's go. The others can go, but Qi Xiong must stay. But suddenly, the voice of the castle sounded. Don't go too far. Qi Xiong immediately glared at the castle. Qiji's expression also changed slightly. He cupped his hands and said, Sir, what happened before was indeed Qi Xiong's fault, but I have already apologized to Qin Feiyang and the Golden-Winged Wolf King on his behalf. Moreover, the great ancestor also said that Qi Xiong cannot be killed. Obviously, he was using the Qilin Lord to intimidate the castle. Gu Bao said faintly, I didn't say I was going to kill him. It's just that he had an agreement with Feiyang in advance, so he had to stay here for the time being. He can only leave after Feiyang wakes up and kowtows. Also, don't use the Qilin Master to scare me. I won't fall for it. Qiji frowned. He didn't expect the sovereign weapon to be so unyielding. It didn't even give face to their ancestor. Since it's an agreement, Qi Xiong naturally won't dare to go back on his word. As for Qin Feiyang and the Golden-Winged Wolf King, we don't know when they'll wake up, so we might as well let Qi Xiong go back and rebuild his body first. We'll talk about it after Qin Feiyang and the others wake up. The white-bearded old man laughed. What if he runs away? Pyrotechnic Glow sneered. Shut up. Who are you to speak here? Qiyu glared at Pyrotechnic Glow and shouted. You're just a stray dog. Why are you so arrogant? Pyrotechnic Glow smiled disdainfully. Qiyu was furious. Qi Xiong stopped Qiyu, looked at Pyrotechnic Glow and said, "You should know how to behave when you speak. Don't forget that this is the Qilin Holy Land." "What?" Pyrotechnic Glow snorted coldly. Qi Xiong's eyes flashed with killing intent. What a reckless junior. "Shut up, all of you." Qi Ji glared at the father and son, looked up at the ancient castle, and said with a smile, "Your Excellency, if Qi Xiong really runs away, I will replace him and kneel to Qin Feiyang and the Golden-Winged Wolf King. What do you think? Since you've already said so, if I still insist on staying, it will make me seem unreasonable. Okay, remember what you said today." After saying that, the ancient castle fell silent. Qi Ji breathed a sigh of relief, stared at the father and son, and shouted, "Why aren't you leaving?" Qi Xiong snorted coldly, turned around and flew away with Qiyu. Qi Ji looked at Princess Huafeng and Pyrotechnic Glow, and said with a smile, "Don't mind it and don't restrict yourself. Just treat this as your home. After all, your father and I are old friends. I'm very happy that you can come to the Qilin Holy Land to play." "Okay, uncle." The brother and sister nodded. Qi Ji smiled and said, "When you have time, help uncle persuade Xiaoyun not to do useless things all day long. Spend more time on cultivation." "Okay." The brother and sister nodded. "All right, Holy Sun Qilin, I'll take my leave now." Qi Ji looked at the Fire Qilin. "Okay." The Fire Qilin nodded. Qi Ji left with the white-bearded old man. "Persuade Qi Xiaoyun?" Pyrotechnic Glow looked at Qi Ji's back and said, "I don't even know him, okay?" "You don't know him?" The Fire Qilin looked at him in astonishment. "Yeah. Although I've been here before, this is my first time here. Doesn't look like much. Especially the people here. They are even more unreasonable than the ice phoenixes." Pyrotechnic Glow looked around with disdain. Cough cough. The Fire Qilin coughed and said awkwardly, "Give me some face. I'm the Qilin Holy Sun after all. How can you say that in front of me?" "Heh. You're a different story. Because you're in Chow Chow's camp, but your heart is elsewhere." Pyrotechnic Glow bared his teeth. The Fire Qilin shook his head and laughed. He looked at Tan Wu and the others and asked, "Are you all going to wait here?" "Let's wait. There's nothing to do anyway." Tan Wu smiled. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. During this half a month, the Qilin Holy Land was bustling with noise and excitement. Everyone was talking about Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. Of course, while talking about Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf, there was naturally no lack of jokes made by Qi Xiong and his son. However, Qi Xiong, his son, Qi Yefeng, and the others were unusually quiet during this half a month, as if nothing had happened. And during this half a month, with the help of the purple gold dragon blood and the fire of life, Qin Feiyang's injuries had been healed, but his sea of qi, sea of consciousness, and divine soul had not been repaired. After all, the sea of qi, sea of consciousness, and divine soul were all places that were extremely difficult to repair. Only with the help of pills was the most effective. But what was unexpected was that the White-Eyed Wolf's injuries had actually healed. One had to know. The reason why Qin Feiyang could recover so quickly was mostly because of the purple gold dragon blood. But what did the White-Eyed Wolf rely on? Obviously, this was also related to the power of its current bloodline. Now it was basically certain that the power of its bloodline was the same as the purple gold dragon blood, containing an extremely powerful healing ability. However, although their injuries had healed, there were no signs of waking up. Just like before, they maintained the same posture, lying on the stone platform. In fact, their consciousness had long been awakened, but at this moment, their consciousness had fallen into an endless dark space. This point, not to mention Princess Huafeng and the others below, even the ancient castle, the Sword of Death, and the horsetail whisk, the three sovereign divine weapons guarding the man and the wolf, did not know. They all thought that Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf were sleeping. The dark space was boundless. There was no sound, nor was there anything. Nothingness, dead silence. The consciousness of a man and a wolf were trapped in the boundless darkness. It felt as if centuries had passed. Moreover, their consciousness was not in the same dark space. In other words, they were in a dark space by themselves, but they felt the same. It was cold, dead silent, and dark. They tried to shout and struggle, but the only response they got was the echo of their shouts. Where is this? Why is my consciousness trapped here? Is there anyone here? Little Chinzi, are you there? Answer me if you are. I'm really going to collapse. I want to go out. What the hell is this place? No matter who is playing tricks in the dark, I advise you to let me out immediately. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. The white-eyed wolf's consciousness was like a lonely ghost, floating in the dark space. Gradually, this strange environment and atmosphere made it unable to help but feel afraid. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's consciousness was also wandering aimlessly in the dark space. The cold and lonely void gradually made him irritated. 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years. In the dark space, time seemed to pass in the blink of an eye, but it also seemed to be flowing backward. Qin Feiyang did not know how many years he had drifted in the space, let alone how far he had drifted. He was tortured by loneliness every moment. As time went by, he seemed to have forgotten something. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? In the end, the sense of loneliness slowly disappeared. It seemed that he was born in this dark world. Slowly, he had gotten used to all of this, and all of his memories had been completely forgotten. He thought that this was how the world was. So, he began to sit quietly in the darkness. He forgot everything. His body and mind became empty, and his essence, energy, and spirit were sublimated. It seemed that countless centuries had passed. Even his consciousness had become transparent and untainted. But suddenly one day, at the end of the deep darkness, a ray of light suddenly appeared. What is this? Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and looked at the ray of light. An inexplicable sense of fear rose in his heart. What was this feeling? Yes, he had even forgotten his sense of fear. The fear that was once very familiar became very strange at this moment. But with the appearance of the light, the dark space was not illuminated. It was like a meteor in the darkness, passing directly over his head and disappearing into the darkness. At the same time, the same scene happened in the dark space where the white-eyed wolf was. It seemed that a few centuries had passed. At the end of the darkness, another ray of light appeared. It was still a familiar scene. It flashed by like a flash of the epiphyllum. What on earth is that? Qin Feiyang, who had forgotten everything and returned to his original state, was like an innocent child, extremely curious. The next time you appear, I must catch you and take a look. He clenched his fists a little angrily. It seemed that several centuries had passed. At the end of the darkness, the light appeared again. Qin Feiyang immediately got up and rushed toward the light. Chapter 36-33. But the speed of the light was extremely fast and it knew how to dodge. He brushed past Qin Feiyang's side without stopping at all. Want to run? Qin Feiyang turned around and flew away. However, the light was like a little elf, disappearing into the darkness with a few jumps. Qin Feiyang scratched his head. What was going on? After a long wait, another light finally appeared. This time, Qin Feiyang was fully prepared in advance. When the light swept past, he stretched out both hands, but the result was that he still grabbed nothing and swept past him. I don't believe that I can't catch you. Qin Feiyang's stubborn temper also came up, and he grabbed with his backhand. At that moment, there was a trace of excitement in his eyes, because he felt that he had already caught the light, and a warm feeling came from his palm. It was as if he was bathing in the sun, making him feel very comfortable. Let's see if you can still run. Qin Feiyang retracted his arm, looked down at his clenched fist and laughed. Immediately, he also used his other hand and slowly loosened his clenched fist, as if he was afraid that the light would run away when he wasn't paying attention. But when he saw the light in his palm, Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. The light had disappeared and was replaced by a wisp of lightning, quietly staying in his palm. He thought it was something, but it turned out to be a wisp of lightning. When he came back to his senses, he couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Boom! However, in the next moment, that wisp of lightning suddenly released a peerlessly terrifying aura. Qin Feiyang was instantly drowned in terror. He quickly let go. But the lightning seemed to be stuck to his hand and couldn't be shaken off. It was also at this moment that everything he had forgotten came rushing back like a tide. I am Qin Feiyang. I am at the top of the thunder punishment stairway of the Qilin Holy Land. I am now trapped in a dark space of nothingness. When his memory was restored, the fear that the lightning gave him was even stronger. It was as if this wisp of lightning in front of him was transformed from a sovereign divine weapon. Fear, panic, and despair drowned him. No! In the end, accompanied by a furious roar, his consciousness was shattered by the terrifying aura of the lightning. The dark space collapsed as well. Just as the dark space collapsed, Qin Feiyang, who was lying on the stone platform, suddenly got up. His forehead was covered with large beads of sweat. He quickly scanned his surroundings. He was actually still on the thunder punishment heavenly stairs. He lowered his head and looked at himself. He was completely unharmed. What was going on? Immediately, Qin Feiyang was stunned. Hadn't his consciousness been shattered by the lightning in the dark space? Why is he completely fine? Could it be that it was just a nightmare? But this dream was too realistic. The long years, the endless waiting, and the final despair seemed to be branded in his mind, unable to be erased. What happened to you? The ancient castle, the sword of the Grim Reaper, and the Whisk's artifact spirits all looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. He suddenly jumped up and then stood there motionless. Such an abnormal behavior shocked them all. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He looked up at the three sovereign divine weapons and said with a smile, "You're all here." "Nonsense. We've always been here." The ancient castle was speechless. He must be sleepwalking. Qin Feiyang was about to speak, but suddenly found that the dark clouds that shrouded the peak had dissipated, replaced by an endless blue sky and white clouds. What was going on? Was it really a nightmare? This kid couldn't have been struck dumb by lightning, right? Qin Feiyang, don't scare us. The ancient castle's three sovereign divine weapons were very worried. Guess if he was struck dumb. Qin Feiyang glared at the three sovereign divine weapons and asked, "How long has it been?" "It's been exactly a month since you were unconscious," the ancient castle said. "So fast?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Wait, where was the white-eyed wolf? He hurriedly lowered his head and glanced at the stone platform. He found that the white-eyed wolf was still lying on the side, motionless. Did the white-eyed wolf have the same nightmare as him? After pondering for a moment, he still couldn't figure out the reason. He took out the Tianyang spirit pill and Yuan High divine pill and put them into his mouth. His sea of qi and sea of consciousness immediately began to repair at a speed visible to the naked eye. But suddenly, his face suddenly changed. After taking the pill, he observed the situation of his sea of qi and sea of consciousness. He found that there was a wisp of lightning floating in his sea of consciousness. After repeated confirmation, the lightning in his sea of consciousness was exactly the same as the lightning in his dream. One must know, this wisp of lightning could easily erase his consciousness. Now that he saw this lightning inexplicably appear in his sea of consciousness, how could he still be calm? But, after a long time, the lightning didn't erupt with terrifying power. This made him couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Following closely, a lot of doubts crawled in his mind. Obviously, this wasn't a dream. But what was this lightning? What was the dark space? Why did the lightning appear in his sea of consciousness? What did this wisp of lightning represent? Faced with these puzzling questions, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but have a headache. Then he tried to take the lightning out of his sea of consciousness, but the lightning seemed to have taken root in his sea of consciousness and couldn't be taken out. "Master, spare my life." Suddenly, a loud roar sounded next to him. Not only Qin Feiyang, but the three sovereign divine weapons in the castle were also startled and quickly looked at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf also got up from the place with a quiver. In an instant, his hair was wet with cold sweat and his eyes were full of fear. But soon, it was the same as Qin Feiyang. Bai looked at the familiar scene around him, his eyes full of confusion and doubts. "Why are you all so surprised?" The three sovereign divine weapons in the castle were full of doubts. "Damn. It turned out to be a dream. It really scared me to death." The white-eyed wolf finally came back to his senses and said with a face full of fear. "Dream?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Could it be that when the white-eyed wolf was asleep, he experienced the same thing as him? So he asked curiously, "What dream?" "It's just a nightmare. Let's not talk about it." The white-eyed wolf placed its paws on its paws. Qin Feiyang took out the Yuanhai divine pill and the Tianyang divine pill and handed them to the white-eyed wolf. Tell me, because when I was asleep I also had a nightmare. You also had a nightmare? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. The white-eyed wolf took the pill and said suspiciously, then tell me what your nightmare was first. Qin Feiyang sorted out his memories and recounted everything that had happened in the dream. Damn. Hearing this, the white-eyed wolf's face suddenly had a trace of disbelief. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. The white-eyed wolf said, your dream is almost the same as mine. It can't be. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The white-eyed wolf said, the only difference is that I didn't catch a wisp of lightning, but a wisp of gray flame. A wisp of gray flame? Qin Feiyang was stunned and hurriedly urged, look at your sea of consciousness. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked inside his sea of consciousness. He was stunned at once and saw a wisp of gray flame floating in his sea of consciousness. It's not a dream? The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, what's going on? I don't know. In my sea of consciousness there is also a wisp of lightning. Qin Feiyang shook his head and pondered for a moment. Then he looked up at the three sovereign divine weapons and said, you all heard it, right? Tell me what's going on. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. He looked at the three sovereign divine weapons and said, you are all sovereign divine weapons. You should know, right? I see. The three sovereign divine weapons chuckled. What are you laughing at? Tell us. The white-eyed wolf said angrily, go ask the white-bearded old man. He should be able to explain it to you. After saying that, the sword of Thanatos and the horsetail whisk disappeared into Qin Feiyang's body. I have placed the super forbidden technique that the Qilin Lord gave you in your cultivation room. You can study it when you have time. After saying that, the sword of Thanatos went straight to the Black Tortoise world, leaving Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf in a daze on the stone platform. Damn it, so unreliable. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and roared angrily. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. It was probably a very complicated matter. The three sovereign divine weapons did not want to waste their breath. As for the super forbidden technique, they still remembered it, because at that time they were not unconscious. Qin Feiyang, white-eyed wolf, are you awake? Suddenly, a suspicious voice sounded from below. When the man and wolf heard this voice, they were slightly stunned. They hurriedly walked to the front of the stone platform and looked down. They saw Fire Qilin Tanwu, Hell Godhound, Uncle Divine Beast, and Princess Fire Phoenix standing below. At this moment, they were all looking at the top of the stairway suspiciously. They can't see us? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Seems so. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, can you still see the dark clouds here? No. When I woke up, the dark clouds had disappeared. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. It seems to have something to do with our experience. In the eyes of Tan Wu and the others, the dark clouds must still be there. In other words, in their eyes we are still submerged in the dark clouds and they can't see us, Qin Feiyang analyzed. Hearing this, the white-eyed wolf glanced around and muttered, what a strange place. Let's go down. Qin Feiyang smiled. It was not strange, but with their current ability they still could not understand. Whoosh! The man and the wolf immediately jumped up from the stone platform and swooped down. It's them. Indeed, as Qin Feiyang said, in the eyes of Tan Wu and the others, the dark clouds at the top were still there. When Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf jumped down from the stone platform, they immediately appeared in their sight. Seeing the man and the wolf appear safely, the group of people beamed with joy. Sorry to keep you waiting. Qin Feiyang chuckled and landed in front of the group of people. It's only been a month. As long as you are fine. Fire Qilin smiled. Pyrotechnic Glow looked at the man and the wolf curiously and asked, what are you doing up there? Why are you so surprised? It's a long story. Qin Feiyang shook his head and asked, where are the others? The Hell Godhound said, they can't stay here and wait for you for a month. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded and frowned. What about Qi Xiong? He also went back. Fire Qilin thought for a moment and said, are you sure you still want him to kneel and kowtow? Of course. This is what we agreed in advance. The white-eyed wolf sneered. and so many people heard it. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. Chapter 36-34. The fire Qilin didn't say anything else. Although it did want to help Qi, what Qi did was too much. Not only did he scheme in the galaxy, he even tried to kill Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf when they were about to reach the peak. Even a good-tempered person would be angry after being provoked so many times, let alone Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, who were vengeful people. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go find the white-bearded old man first." Find him? The fire Qilin and the others were stunned. Shouldn't they be looking for Qi? Why were they looking for an insignificant person first? I have something to ask him. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "Where does the white-bearded old man live?" Qi was now a small matter for Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. The fire Qilin thought for a moment and said, "I think he lives with Qi Shaoyan." "I know where Qi Shaoyan lives," Princess Huafeng said. "Then take us there." After Qin Feiyang said that, he looked at the fire Qilin, Tanwu, and the others and said with a smile, "If you have something else to do, you can go do it first." "What can we do? We're just cultivating." Tanwu chuckled. "Okay, let's go together." As Qin Feiyang said that, the group immediately set off and flew toward the center of the Qilin Holy Land. Ding dong! In a courtyard, the sound of a zither drifted in the air. It was neither fast nor slow like a slowly flowing stream. In the courtyard, numerous tea trees swayed in the wind, exuding vitality. A two-story loft was situated in the middle of the courtyard, like a graceful young lady. Beside it, there was a pavilion with carved beams and painted rafters. In the pavilion, a young man in white sat. His face was as clear as jade, and his body was thin. His thick black hair was tied behind his head, and he exuded an elegant aura. On the stone table in front of him, there was not only an exquisite zither, but also a pot of tea. The fragrance of tea wafted through the air, and the sound of the zither was melodious. It was like an otherworldly paradise. Whoosh! A figure streaked across the sky and landed in front of the pavilion. It was Xiaoying. Xiaoying bowed and said, "Young master." "Speak," said Qi Shaoyun with a faint smile on his face. Xiaoying said, "They've already awakened, and they're rushing towards us. Seems like they're looking for Elder Bai." "Why are you looking for Elder Bai?" Qi Shaoyun asked. "I don't know." Little Ing shook his head. Qi Shaoyun pondered as he played the zither. Suddenly, he smiled and said, "Looks like the lightning punishment heavenly stairs is not as simple as it seems." "What do you mean?" Little Ing was bewildered. "I don't know. I only realized that it's not that simple, but I'm not sure about the specifics yet. Get ready to welcome our esteemed guests." Qi Shaoyun smiled. "All right." Little Ing nodded and entered the tea garden to pick fresh tea leaves. In this courtyard not only was there a large tea garden, but there was also a large orchard. There was more than one fruit tree, and each fruit was suffused with a layer of hazy divine light. It looked sweet and delicious. After picking the tea leaves and fruits, Little Ing carefully washed them and placed them on an exquisite jade plate before placing them neatly on the stone table. Then, she changed the tea leaves in the teapot and brewed a new pot of tea. A moment later, several figures streaked across the sky and headed straight for the courtyard. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. "It's really him." Hearing the sound of the zither coming from the courtyard, Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Although the sound of the zither was roughly the same, if one listened carefully, one would be able to hear the slight differences. It was just like humans. Although they were all humans, they all had their own characteristics. Swish! A group of people landed outside the courtyard. "Greetings, Qilin Saint." Little Ing was already waiting outside. She first bowed to the fire Qilin before looking at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. She smiled and said, "I didn't expect to meet again so soon. Yeah, this fate is truly wondrous beyond words." Qin Feiyang chuckled. Little Ing smiled and stepped aside. She bowed and said, "Please come in." Qin Feiyang led the group into the courtyard. When he saw the tea garden not far away, a trace of amazement appeared in his eyes. There were all kinds of tea trees in the garden, and the Longjing tea was among them. If it was someone else, for example, the white-eyed wolf would definitely not feel anything. But in Qin Feiyang's eyes, This was a fatal temptation. Brother Qin, if you like it, you can choose whatever you want later. Qi Xiaoyun stopped playing the zither and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Really? Qin Feiyang asked. Of course. Qi Xiaoyun nodded. But as if he suddenly thought of something, he changed his mind and said, but the 4 tea trees in the center of the garden are out of the question. Qin Feiyang immediately looked at the center of the garden. His eyes filled with curiosity. What kind of tea trees could make Qi Xiaoyun so reluctant? But before he could see clearly, Littling stood in front of him and said with a smile, Young Master Qin, the tea and fruits are ready. Please. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He looked at Littling meaningfully and gave up on looking for the 4 tea trees that Qi Xiaoyun cared about. He turned around and entered the pavilion. Looking at the tea, fruits, and zither on the table, he smiled and said, Brother Qi, you're really in a good mood. You're too kind. Please have a seat. Qi Xiaoyun waved his hand. After Qin Feiyang sat down, Qi Xiaoyun looked at Princess Huafeng and said with a smile, We're long time no see. You're getting more and more beautiful. What are you talking about? Princess Huafeng's cheeks blushed. Huh. Qi Xiaoyun was astonished. He was not modest at all. He shook his head and smiled. Have a seat. Littling, pour the tea. Littling walked to Qi Xiaoyun's side and opened the teapot. A faint fragrance wafted out. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. This was indeed the Longjing tea. Furthermore, it was the freshest tea leaves. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Looks like Brother Qi already knew we would come. As the son of the Fire Qilin Patriarch, it's not hard for me to know your whereabouts. Qi Xiaoyun smiled and asked, Brother Qin, are you satisfied with the tea tree sprouts I gave you previously? That was a huge gift. I haven't thanked you yet. Qin Feiyang smiled. As long as Brother Qin likes it. Qi Xiaoyun smiled. Princess Huafeng glanced at the two before transmitting to Daifuku. As I expected, Qi Xiaoyun was the one who gave him the tea tree sprouts. What is Qi Xiaoyun's intention for showing goodwill to Qin Feiyang? Daifuku wondered. I don't know. Princess Huafeng muttered. In truth, she had insisted on coming to the Qilin Holy Land to verify this matter. After exchanging some pleasantries, Qin Feiyang put down his teacup and went straight to the point. Is Senior Bai around? My master should be fishing in the river behind the mountain, right? Qi Xiaoyun said. He turned to Little Ing and smiled. Go get my master. No need. I'm just a junior. How can I trouble Senior Bai to come all the way here? I'll go look for him myself. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Qi Xiaoyun blanked out for a moment before nodding. Sure. Little Ing, bring Brother Qin there. Yes. Little Ing answered respectfully. You guys chat first. White-eyed wolf, come with me. Qin Feiyang then followed the white-eyed wolf. Under Little Ying's lead, they flew toward the back of the courtyard. He's being so secretive. Nothing good will come out of this. Princess Huafeng snorted coldly. She raised her head and asked, Big Brother Xiaoyun, you've been to the Eastern Continent recently, right? Qi Xiaoyun blanked out for a moment before he smiled. Or you want to know why I gave Qin Feiyang the Longjing tea sprouts, right? Princess Huafeng smiled awkwardly. Perhaps it's because we're both like-minded. Or perhaps it's because of the Qilin Holy Sun, but I'm curious about Qin Feiyang. Actually, none of that is important. What's important is that he likes the gift. Qi Xiaoyun smiled. Princess Huafeng was speechless. What kind of answer was that? At the back of the mountain. In the mountains, ancient trees towered into the sky. A river flowed between the mountains, meandering like a giant dragon. Under a big tree, an old man sat on a small stool, holding a homemade fishing rod in his hand. He was looking at the floating fish on the river. Senior Bai is over there. Little Ing pointed at the old man on the riverbank and smiled. Thank you for leading the way. Qin Feiyang glanced at the old man and cupped his hands at Little Ing with a smile. Obviously, he wanted her to go back. You guys take your time. Xiaoying naturally understood. She smiled and turned around to leave. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other before silently landing in front of the old man. To be honest, if they hadn't entered the Qilin Holy Land, they would never have thought that the old man was such a terrifying expert. They're here. Although the man and the wolf did not reveal any aura as they did not want to disturb the old man's fishing, the old man still sensed their arrival. Moreover, he did not seem to be surprised by the arrival of Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, I have offended you before. I hope that Senior can forgive me. Back then, the old man with the white beard was startled and laughed hoarsely. Did I offend you at that time? At that time it seems that you guys saved my life from the hands of the first prince of dragons. I still have to thank you guys. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but sweat. With your strength you still need us to save you? Speaking of which, this is also fate between us. I also know why you guys are here. But before I answer, I want to know, what did you see? The old man with the white beard put down the fishing rod and stood up to look at the man and the wolf. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, then nodded. All right. At this moment, he explained in detail what he and the white-eyed wolf had seen. Hearing this, the old man with the white beard shook his head and sighed. You guys have indeed glimpsed the ultimate profound meaning. That's the ultimate profound meaning? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were shocked. That's right. The old man with the white beard nodded and laughed. The dark space is actually formed from your inner world, and the rays of light that appear are the epitome of the power of law that you have grasped. Chapter 36-35. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. It really wasn't a dream. He was just trapped in his own inner world. However, what did the epitome of the power of law mean? You should already know about the thunder punishment stairway. This is a test. Anyone who passes the test will be able to peek into the mystery of the ultimate profound. Although it's just a little bit, for us it's equivalent to opening the door to the ultimate profound. The so-called epitome is the various laws that you have mastered. For example, the white-eyed wolf. You have mastered 6 supreme laws, and the light that appeared in your inner world was formed by these 6 supreme laws. But it's not easy to make the epitome of the laws appear. You have to make yourself completely silent and forget everything. If you can't do it, you will be trapped in the dark space formed by your inner world, and your consciousness may even disappear in the end. The white-bearded old man explained. When Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf heard this, they couldn't help but shudder. Fortunately, they had successfully summoned the epitome of the laws. The white-eyed wolf pondered for a while and asked, in other words, no matter how long I am trapped in my inner world, only these 6 lights will appear? That's right. The epitome of the laws will only appear, the laws that you have mastered. Those that you have not mastered will not appear. However, if you are trapped in your inner world, the epitome of the 6 supreme laws will appear one after another. It depends on whether you can catch it or not. Your luck is very good. You caught the epitome of the law of death. The white-bearded old man chuckled, but after saying that, his expression stiffened. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. That's not right. The 6 supreme laws that you have mastered are all supreme laws. Any one of them is the ultimate profound of the supreme law, so it has nothing to do with luck. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and frowned. According to what you said, my luck is very bad? That's right. You caught the law of thunder. If you can catch the law of destruction or the law of karma, it will be a great fortune for you. After all, the law of thunder is definitely incomparable to the supreme law. The white-bearded old man nodded and smiled. Haha, so this is his character. The white-eyed wolf laughed gloatingly. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched, and he glared at the white-eyed wolf. Then, he looked at the white-bearded old man and asked unwillingly, Can I start over? What do you think? The white-bearded old man asked. Qin Feiyang lowered his head, his face full of distress. Why was his luck so bad? He was unable to grasp even one of the 2 supreme laws. Be content. Not to mention the 4 continents outside, just look at our Qilin Holy Land. How many people can have such good fortune? Even the patriarchs of the various clans have yet to open the door to the ultimate profound. For you to be able to open the ultimate door to the laws of lightning is already a great fortune. Besides, can you compare yourself to the golden-winged wolf king? Not to mention you, I'm afraid that no one in this world can compare to the golden-winged wolf king. After all, its 6 laws are all ultimate laws. The white-bearded old man consoled. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and nodded. Hearing you say this, my heart does feel a lot better. It's the truth. This old man has also grasped two supreme laws. But back then, I only grasped the law of darkness. Therefore we can't compare. If we really want to compare, the golden-winged wolf king will also feel indignant because you have slaughter, eye of heaven, and 3,000 incarnations. The white-bearded old man smiled. Old man, you are doing this on purpose. Originally, this brother was quite proud. But after hearing you say this brother's good mood instantly disappeared. The white-eyed wolf glared at the white-bearded old man angrily. One must be content. After all, there is a saying that contentment brings joy. Besides, the two of you have extraordinary talents. This old man believes that sooner or later, you will become an existence like the Qilin Holy Land. The white-bearded old man smiled. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked curiously, like the Qilin Holy Land? Feng Ho and the Dragon King, how strong are they exactly? How strong? The white-bearded old man looked up at the sky and smiled. As for how strong they are, this old man dares not say. But this old man dares to say that even a sovereign weapon can't kill them. Damn! Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's hearts trembled. This was a true super expert. You are digressing too far. The white-bearded old man retracted his gaze and looked at the man and wolf, smiling. Now you only need to comprehend the law miniature left in your sea of consciousness, and you will be able to grasp the power of the ultimate mystery step by step. It will be so smooth? The white-eyed wolf didn't believe it. Of course it won't be so smooth. This will take a very long time, and more importantly, it requires comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth. In the end, the law miniature is equivalent to a key that helps you open the door to the ultimate mysteries. You still need to work hard in the future. Why don't you come and take a look at me? As early as 100,000 years ago, I have already glimpsed the ultimate door of the law of darkness. But until now, I have only reached the initial step of peeking at the door. I don't know how many years it will take to truly comprehend it. The white-bearded old man sighed. 100,000 years ago. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Moreover, this is not calculated according to the normal time, because when I am in seclusion, I will enter the time array. The time array of the Qilin Holy Land is 5,000 years per day. 100,000 years, think about it, according to the time of 5,000 years per day. How long has it been now? In short, to comprehend the ultimate mysteries, one word, is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The white-bearded old man shook his head and sighed. His words were full of bitterness. That is only 4 words. The white-eyed wolf glared at him. There is no difference, it is just difficult. The white-bearded old man smiled. It is indeed difficult. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. 100,000 years according to the time array of 5,000 years per day. This was simply an inestimable number. However, as the white-bearded old man said, he and the white-eyed wolf had already obtained the key to opening the ultimate door. Although the future was long, at least there was hope. It was better than those who would never see hope. Senior, I have a question. You are so strong. Why do you stay in the Qilin Holy Land? Qin Feiyang looked at the white-bearded old man suspiciously. An expert like the white-bearded old man could completely dominate a region by himself. There was no need to work for others. This question is quite good. This old man also wants to ask you, Golden-Winged Wolf King, little madman, their talent and strength are not inferior to yours. But why do they still follow you? The white-bearded old man laughed hoarsely. Qin Feiyang was speechless. The white-bearded old man laughed. The Qilin Lord has given me a new lease of life. I believe that if it were you, you would also make the same choice. This junior is rude. I hope senior can forgive me. Qin Feiyang bowed and smiled apologetically. It's okay. The white-bearded old man waved his hand. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, since the doubts in my heart have been solved, this junior will no longer disturb senior's meditation. Goodbye. Work hard. Because this old man sees the hope of the human race in you. Also, please promise this old man one thing. In the future, no matter what happens between you and the Qilin clan, try not to hurt the Fire Qilin clan. The white-bearded old man said. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, looked at the white-bearded old man and said, Senior, what do you mean? You will understand in the future. The white-bearded old man smiled, returned to the small stool, and continued to fish. Little Qinzi, what do you mean? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. What else can it mean? He wants us to be merciful to the Fire Qilin clan. And he has predicted that in the future, we will inevitably fall out with the Fire Qilin clan. But I don't understand why he is so sure that we will fall out with the Fire Qilin clan in the future. What secret is hidden in this? Qin Feiyang murmured. Who cares about the secret? He is only pleading for the Fire Qilin clan, not for the entire Fire Qilin clan. Let's talk about it later. Who knows what will happen in the future? The white-eyed wolf waved his paws, looking indifferent. That's true. Who knows what will happen in the future? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, looked at the white-bearded old man, bowed and said, "This junior will take his leave." After that, he turned around and left with the white-eyed wolf. This old man also sincerely hopes that what happened back then will not happen again. Otherwise, when the war starts, the only ones who will be hurt in the end will be those innocent people. After Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf left, the white-bearded old man also murmured in a low voice. In the sky above the mountains. White-eyed wolf, I haven't asked you before. When you fought with Qi Xiong in the Star River, what kind of divine art did you activate? Can even crush a super forbidden art. That's too terrifying. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the white-eyed wolf. Even now, when he thought of how terrifying that blood-colored wolf was, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. I'm not telling you. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Is it interesting? Qin Feiyang stared at him angrily. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Anyway, you just need to know that this brother is now an invincible existence. Invincible? How about the two of us compete? Qin Feiyang sneered. Fine. As long as you don't activate the slaughter domain and the Eye of Heaven, even if you activate 3,000 incarnations, this brother will still crush you. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. I thought how strong you are. Qin Feiyang was disdainful. Damn. So who are you looking down on? If you really want to fight to the death, do you think this brother will be afraid of you? It's as if you're the only one who has a battle soul. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Are you strong? It's just a joke. Why are you angry? Qin Feiyang was speechless. But suddenly, he looked at the void in front of him and was slightly stunned. The same went for the white-eyed wolf. A middle-aged man was standing in the void in front of them. It was the patriarch of the Fire Qilin clan, Qi. He can't be waiting for us, right? The white-eyed wolf grumbled. Why don't we go over and ask? However, I don't have a good impression of this person. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Indeed. He's a little sinister. The white-eyed wolf nodded. At the top of the celestial stairway, although both of them were extremely weak and didn't even have the strength to speak, they knew what Qi Xiong had done. When Qi Xiong suddenly launched a sneak attack, this person didn't say a word, as if silently agreeing. However, when the sword of Grim Reaper and the horsetail whisk were about to kill Qi Xiong, this person ran out to plead for mercy. Wasn't this a typical case of hypocrisy? Chapter 36-36. A man and a wolf flew over. Although they were disgusted, they still had to respect him on the surface. After all, he was the owner of this place. Greetings, senior. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands. Qiji laughed and said, You are really young heroes. When I see you two, I feel that I have aged dozens of years in an instant. Senior, you are too kind. I don't deserve your praise. Qin Feiyang quickly waved his hand and asked, Senior, why are you standing here? Of course I am waiting for you, Qiji said. Waiting for us? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and pretended to be surprised. Qiji's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, There is something I want to talk to you about. Senior, just say it. Qin Feiyang smiled. Qiji fell silent. His eyes fell on the white-eyed wolf as if he wanted to see through the white-eyed wolf. If you have something to say, just say it. What are you waiting for? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. I am not your wife. Why are you looking at me like that? Qiji was not angry when he heard that. Instead, he shook his head and said with a smile, In fact, I just want to ask you, where did the blood-red wolf you summoned in the Star River come from? Ah! The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Qin Feiyang's eyes also flashed slightly. He had actually come specifically for this matter. What does he mean? Does Qiji know something? The white-eyed wolf asked calmly. Do you know this blood-red wolf? Qiji seemed to be hesitating about something. Qin Feiyong said, Senior, if you know, please enlighten us. Qiji glanced at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile, It seems that you don't know. Well, forget it. They looked at Qiji suspiciously. What does he mean? Qiji said with a smile, I wish you a good time in the Kirin Holy Land in the next 3 days. 3 days? What does that mean? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Originally, the old ancestor said that he would let you all leave the Kirin Holy Land after you all woke up. But after thinking about it, you all finally reunited with the Kirin Saint Sun, so you might as well stay for a few more days. Qiji explained. I see. The man and the wolf nodded in understanding. Qiji turned to leave, but he suddenly stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. He asked, Can we really not let go of the matter regarding my brother, Qi Xiong? What do you think? White-eyed wolf asked. Sigh. Qiji sighed and turned to leave silently. It's really strange. The white-eyed wolf was furious. But I don't think so. The blood-red wolf you summoned must be extraordinary. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Nonsense. If it's just an ordinary one, how can it suppress a super forbidden technique? The white-eyed wolf laughed proudly. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Can't you tell me about the blood-red wolf? I don't know what a blood-red wolf is. I knew it. When the mark appeared on my forehead, this thing already existed. I also want someone to tell me about it. The white-eyed wolf had a frustrated look on his face. All right, Qin Feiyong said helplessly, then tell me, what other tricks are you hiding? Nothing. This is my last resort. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Really? Qin Feiyong frowned. Really? Why would I lie to you? The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Why don't I believe you? Qin Feiyong frowned. Forget it if you don't believe me. The white-eyed wolf waved his paw and left without looking back, leaving Qin Feiyong behind. So arrogant. Qin Feiyong pursed his lips. He found it hard to believe the white-eyed wolf's words. After returning to Qi Xiaoyun's residence, the white-eyed wolf got along well with the fire Qilin and the Cerberus. Qin Feiyong was about to return when he suddenly recalled the tea trees mentioned by Qi Xiaoyun. His curiosity was piqued again. And so, he retracted his aura and sneaked into the tea garden. The tea trees here really dazzled him. Like the Jade Dragon Well, each of them was the king of tea. He wished he could move the entire tea garden to the Black Tortoise world. Finally, he arrived at the center of the tea garden. 4 tea trees immediately entered his line of sight. Each of them was only as thick as a baby's arm and over a meter tall. They were completely black and looked very ordinary. Even the branches and tea leaves were black. However, when Qin Feiyong saw the 4 tea trees, he couldn't take his eyes off of them, because each of the tea leaves emitted a fragrance that seeped into one's heart. It was like the fragrance of osmanthus and orchids, causing one to involuntarily sink into it. Speaking of which, the fragrance of the tea could arouse the taste buds of any tea drinker. Even those who didn't drink tea would probably be addicted to it. Moreover, each of the tea leaves seemed to be filled with spirituality, as if there was a god hidden within. Qin Feiyong was completely mesmerized by the 4 tea trees. He didn't even know that Qi Xiaoyun had already discovered him, and was leading everyone over. As expected, even someone like the white-eyed wolf couldn't take his eyes off the 4 tea trees. Qi Xiaoyun walked up to Qin Feiyong and held the 4 tea trees gently as if he was holding his lover. He shook his head and said with a smile, as expected, you still found out. Huh. Qin Feiyong came back to his senses and looked at the group. Why are you all here? You didn't even know we were here. Princess Huafeng was speechless. When Qin Feiyong heard that, he smiled awkwardly. He looked at Qi Xiaoyun and said apologetically, Sorry, I accidentally entered your tea garden. Young Master Qin, you didn't do that, right? Little Ing looked at Qin Feiyong unhappily. Qin Feiyong felt awkward. Little Ing, don't be rude. Qi Xiaoyun berated. It's true. You barged in without the owner's permission. Little Ing snorted coldly. You're still talking? Qi Xiaoyun glared at Little Ing. He then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Little Ing has been spoiled by me. I hope Brother Qin can forgive her. No, It's my fault. Don't blame her. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, feeling even more awkward. He originally wanted to sneak a look and leave, but he did not expect to encounter such tea trees. In the end he was caught red-handed. Qi Xiaoyun smiled. He looked at the 4 tea trees and said, Brother Qin, are you curious now? Why are these seemingly ordinary tea trees so attractive? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. Qi Xiaoyun said, This is the legendary divine tea. What? Divine tea? Qin Feiyong was stunned. No wonder he could feel a trace of spirituality. It turned out to be divine tea. Soon after, he became excited. He had been longing for divine tea for a long time. His greatest regret in life was that he had never tasted divine tea. One could say that. Now, apart from the ultimate profundity, divine tea was the greatest temptation to him. He had never expected that Qi Xiaoyun would actually have divine tea here. Moreover, there were 4 complete tea trees. Qi Xiaoyun glanced at Qin Feiyong, shook his head and said with a smile, Brother Qin, I know what you're thinking, but these 4 ancient dragon god tea trees are my lifeblood, so I really can't give them up. Lifeblood? Are you exaggerating? If I used a sovereign weapon to exchange for them, would you trade? The white-eyed wolf asked. No. Qi Xiaoyun shook his head and answered straightforwardly. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He looked at the 4 tea trees curiously. Were they so valuable? To those who love tea, these 4 ancient dragon divine tea trees are truly priceless treasures. No matter how insensible I am, it's impossible for me to steal something that others like. Qin Feiyong sighed and felt regretful. How good would it be if he could move to the Black Tortoise world? Thank you for your understanding, Brother Qin. Apart from the ancient dragon god tea trees, Brother Qin can choose any of the other tea trees. Also, Qi Xiaoyun looked at Xiaoying and said with a smile, Prepare a pot of ancient dragon god tea for Brother Qin to taste. Yes. Xiaoying nodded and glared at Qin Feiyong. She carefully plucked a leaf and walked back to the pavilion. Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. He quickly cupped his fists and said with a smile, Thank you, Brother Qi. You're welcome. Qi Xiaoyun waved his hand. I don't understand. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. I don't understand either. Pyrotechnic Glow also shook his head. Black Tortoise Divine Brew, unparalleled divine brew, wasn't it fragrant? After strolling around the tea garden for a while, everyone returned to the pavilion. Qin Feiyong impatiently picked up the teacup and sniffed it. The fragrance of the tea was intoxicating. Moreover, although the leaves of the ancient dragon god tea were black, the tea produced was a faint golden color. When the tea entered his mouth, it was like a jade nectar. Moreover, it seemed to contain the divinity of a divine dragon. Not only was his fatigue swept away, but his spirit was also sublimated. He was simply the god of tea. This is my biggest gain after entering the Qilin sacred ground, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but exclaim. In his heart, his desire for the 4 ancient dragon god tea trees grew. Is that so? Brother Qin didn't gain anything on the lightning punishment heavenly stairs? Qi Xiaoyun asked with a smile. Qin Feiyong was stunned. He gently put down the teacup and looked at Qi Xiaoyun with a smile. Brother Qi seems to have seen through something? Isn't it because I want to get an answer from Brother Qin? Qi Xiaoyun smiled. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and muttered. Brother Qin, you don't have to force yourself. Qi Xiaoyun personally picked up the teapot and poured a cup for Qin Feiyong. Gifts blind the eyes and mouths blind the eyes. This saying is indeed true. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. He picked up the teacup and took a sip before saying, I can't say anything else. If Brother Qi is interested, you can try the lightning punishment heavenly stairs. Qi Xiaoyun picked up the teacup in front of him and said with a smile, Thank you for your guidance, Brother Qin. Talking to a smart person was indeed different. Just a little bit was enough. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Qin Feiyong still hadn't had enough. As for the white-eyed wolf, at first he tasted it and it was indeed not bad. But when he took out the unparalleled divine brew, he still found it delicious. Brother Qi, I have a question. Back then, why did you bring Little Ing and Old Bai to the eastern continent? Qin Feiyong asked. Qi Xiaoyun pondered for a moment and said with a smile, It has something to do with the Qilin saint. Something to do with me? The fire Qilin was stunned. Yes. Back then, I learned from my father that you have several companions in the sky cloud realm, and they also have purple gold dragon blood. So out of curiosity, I went to the eastern continent to investigate. In the end, I found that they were indeed extraordinary people. Qi Xiaoyun smiled. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. Qi Xiaoyun looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Brother Qin, there's something you still don't know. The Qilin saint and the old ancestor have made a 1,000-year promise. A 1,000-year promise? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. For 1,000 years, the Qilin race will not become enemies with you. Qi Xiaoyun nodded. This? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Then, he looked at the fire Qilin and asked, when did this happen? Some time ago. After your battle with the first prince of the dragons. The fire Qilin smiled. Isn't this about the same as when we made the agreement with the Firefeng people? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. That's right. During your battle with the first prince of the dragons, Feng Ho personally came to the Qilin sacred ground. She seemed to be discussing this matter with the old ancestor. Qi Xiaoyun said, what? Feng Ho came. Princess Huafeng and the others were shocked. Yes. Although it was only Feng Ho's consciousness that came, it was no different from her coming in person. Qi Xiaoyun nodded. I see. Qin Feiyang was enlightened. He looked at the fire Qilin and said, thank you. Although Feng Ho had come, the fire Qilin was the main reason why the Qilin master had agreed to the 1,000-year promise. Old friend, there's no need to be so polite. The fire Qilin shook his head and smiled. That was all it could do. Qin Feiyang could only rely on himself for the rest. Chapter 36-37. Now, the Feng people and the Qilin clan had made a 1,000-year pact. In other words, they didn't have to worry about these two clans for the time being. The only thing they had to be wary of was the dragons. Facing just one dragon would undoubtedly reduce the pressure on them. However, 1,000 years wasn't a long time. For people at their level, a seclusion wouldn't last that long. Therefore, they couldn't let their guard down. They had to increase their strength as soon as possible. If Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf could comprehend the ultimate profundity within 1,000 years, they would have an extra layer of protection when facing the 3 forbidden zones in the future. But was the ultimate profundity so easy to comprehend? The white-bearded old man had spent 100,000 years to reach the basic level. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. I can't think about it. Thinking about it gives me a headache. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf looked at Qi Xiaoyun and asked suspiciously, why does your second uncle also know a super forbidden technique? It's because of my father. Qi Xiaoyun shook his head and smiled. Your father. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Yes. My second uncle is a selfish and jealous person. But he's still quite strong. He's stronger than the patriarchs of the other 9 clans. But because of my father, he can't become the patriarch of the Fire Qilin clan. Since he can't become the patriarch, he naturally doesn't have the qualifications to control the sovereign weapon and the super forbidden technique. So, my second uncle has always been dissatisfied with my father. He feels that my father is suppressing him. My father is a person who values the relationship between brothers, especially biological brothers. So, he has always been tolerant. Moreover, my father also feels that he has let down his biological brother. So, back then, my father went to the ancestor and begged him to make an exception and let my second uncle inherit our Qilin clan's super forbidden technique. Qi Xiaoyun smiled. I see. Everyone was enlightened. Putting everything else aside, Qi Ji indeed treated his younger brother well. But just as Qi Xiaoyun said, Qi Xiong was too selfish and jealous. Such a person, no matter how strong he was, would at most be an ambitious and ruthless person, unable to become an overlord. Princess Huafeng smiled and said, Qi Xiong is selfish, but big brother Xiaoyun, you are too indifferent to fame and fortune. Uncle repeatedly told us to persuade you to put more effort into cultivation. Me? Qi Xiaoyun chuckled and shook his head. I'm a person who likes to live a carefree life. Scheming against each other and competing against each other is just a waste of time. But in today's world, if you don't fight, you will gradually be eliminated. Qin Feiyang sighed. Even if we fight for it, what can we gain in the end? Fame and fortune? Vanity. All of this is just a passing cloud. How can it compare to the comfortable life I'm living now? Qi Xiaoyun smiled. Brother Qi's life is indeed something to look forward to. But in this world, how many people can be as unrestrained as Brother Qi? To put it simply, it's best to enjoy the shade under a big tree. Qin Feiyang sighed. Qi Xiaoyun said, Brother Qin, are you implying that I'm a spoiled brat? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, but Brother Qi, you have to know that in this world, not everyone can be a spoiled brat. Haha, I'll take it as Brother Qin's praise for me. If Brother Qin doesn't mind, you can stay at my place in the future. We can drink and chat happily and talk about life. Qi Xiaoyun laughed heartily. I can't ask for more. But let's forget about drinking. I still prefer Brother Qi's ancient dragon god tea. Qin Feiyang also revealed a trace of a smile on his face. In fact, he didn't have any ill intentions. On the contrary, he was very envious of Qi Xiaoyun, because Qi Xiaoyun's life was the life he had always been pursuing. But for him it seemed to be an extravagant hope. Moreover, although Qi Xiaoyun had a status and background, he didn't have the arrogance of a hedonistic son. He treated people kindly and courteously. In the evening, everyone sat together. Some drank tea, some drank wine, and chatted until late into the night. After it was over, Qin Feiyang brought the white-eyed wolf, Fire Qilin, Tan Wu, Uncle Divine Beast, and Cerberus into the Black Tortoise world. Firstly, it was to help them open the door of potential. Secondly, it was to understand their experiences over the years. In the Black Tortoise world, 5,000 years passed in a day. Naturally, they didn't care about the passage of time. After opening the door of potential, everyone sat around the tea garden. After listening to Fire Qilin's explanation, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf finally knew that Fire Qilin and Uncle Divine Beast came to the Sky Cloud world together. That year, in order to find his ancestor, Uncle Divine Beast removed the seal in his body and stepped into the third layer of the Divine Ruins. But because he entered the Nether King Hell from the second layer, he appeared in the Divine Devil Forest outside the temple. There were countless powerful beasts. Faced with such a situation, Uncle Divine Beast couldn't walk out. Later, Fire Qilin also entered the third layer. The two met. But at that time Fire Qilin wasn't strong. Looking at the terrifying Divine Devil Forest, they almost fell into despair. But at the critical moment, a mysterious person appeared. Not only did he save them, but he also sent them to the Sky Cloud world. This answer surprised Qin Feiyang. Why did another mysterious person appear? He remembered that his ancestor also said that he met a mysterious person in the Divine Devil Forest. Not only did he save them, but he also asked them to send them to the ancient world. At that time, Qin Feiyang wondered if it was the god of creation, because only Ice Dragon, Small Beast, and the god of creation could travel freely in the Divine Ruins. But now, after stepping into the sovereign realm, with the comprehension of the law profound, and with the understanding of this world, he felt that there should be other means to interfere with the rules of the Divine Ruins. After all, when old Hai and Pei Wanli went to Great Qin, there was a situation that interfered with the rules of the Divine Ruins. In other words, the person who helped his ancestor might not be the god of creation. Qin Feiyang asked, what does the person who helped you look like? Fire Qilin shook his head and said, I can't see his face clearly. I only remember that he has white hair. From his voice, he should be a young man. White hair, young man. Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other. Back then, wasn't it also a white-haired young man who saved their ancestor? Could it be the same person? Fire Qilin looked at them suspiciously and asked, do you know him? No, we don't. But back then, our ancestor and the others were forced to escape to the Nether King's Hell and face the same situation as you. In the end, it was also a white-haired young man who saved them. Qin Feiyang said. What? Tan Wu and the others looked at each other. He actually saved Qin Batian and the others? The time when our ancestor and the others entered the third level was very different from the time when you entered. In other words, this mysterious person should have been on the third level all along. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. But we know the third level like the back of our hands, but we have never seen this person. Besides, the Blood Demon race rules the Nether King's Hell. If this person really exists, then they should know of his existence. But the blood demon race has never mentioned this person. White-eyed wolf frowned. Like the back of your hand? Are you sure? Qin Feiyong glanced at White-eyed wolf. Why? White-eyed wolf was suspicious. The Nether King's hell is so big. Back then we only went to a few places. As for the blood demon race, although they are the rulers of the Nether King's hell, there is a place that even they dare not enter. This place is the divine demon forest. Qin Feiyong said. White-eyed wolf's eyes trembled and asked, You mean this person has been hiding in the divine demon forest? I don't know. Logically speaking, as the guardian of the third level, no one should be able to escape the fire python's eyes. But even it has never mentioned this person. Could it be that this person can really interfere with the rules of the miracle? Qin Feiyong frowned. It was really a big mystery. White-eyed wolf rubbed his forehead and shook his head. Let's not talk about this person first. Uncle Divine Beast, where is your seal? Uncle Divine Beast smiled and said, My seal has been removed. Who helped you remove it? White-eyed wolf was curious. It's also that mysterious person. At that time, he saw that there was a seal in my body at a glance and helped me remove it with a wave of his hand. Later, with the help of the mysterious person, Fire Qilin and I entered the Sky Cloud realm. By chance, we came to the Death Glacier to train. As a result, the Qilin master sensed Fire Qilin's aura. So, we were brought to the Qilin Holy Land. Uncle Divine Beast explained. White-eyed wolf nodded and pointed at Fire Qilin. Then why was it conferred as the Qilin Holy Sun? I don't know about this either. Uncle Divine Beast shook his head. White-eyed wolf looked at Fire Qilin again. Don't look at me. I don't know either. Fire Qilin smiled bitterly. White-eyed wolf was stunned and asked suspiciously, Is it because you are more handsome? Maybe. Fire Qilin nodded. Shameless. White-eyed wolf looked at Tan Wu and the infernal divine hound in disdain and asked, What about you? Don't tell me it was the mysterious person who sent you here. You entered the ancient world with us. That's a long story. After we entered the ancient world and separated, the infernal divine hound and I have been training in the ancient world. Tan Wu said with a smile. White-eyed wolf said discontentedly, You've been in the ancient world. Then why didn't you come to us? At that time, we thought you had died an unnatural death. Why would we look for you? You were doing so well in the ancient world. If we went there, wouldn't people say that we went there to seek shelter? The infernal divine hound smiled disdainfully. White-eyed wolf bared his teeth. You have a strong self-esteem. In fact, we also know that you have been looking for us, but we really don't want to cause you trouble. Of course. The main reason is that we want to rely on our own ability. Later, the Hell of Hades opened. With the help of an expert, we entered the divine land and mixed in with the crowd. Tan Wu smiled. What expert? Qin Feiyong and White-eyed wolf were suspicious. Tan Wu said with a smile, It's Yi's master, the guardian of the northern region, that sloppy old man. So you have seen Yi a long time ago? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Chapter 36-38. N. Tan Wu nodded. This little girl is really not honest. She actually didn't tell us. The white-eyed wolf was annoyed. I told her not to tell you. Firstly, I didn't want you to be distracted by us. Secondly, I didn't want to drag you down. After entering the Nether King's hell, we also knew our limits and didn't participate in your battle with the ancestral dragons. However, after you entered the forest of gods and devils, we met Li Feng and the Blood Ancestor. We heard from the Blood Ancestor that there was a fourth floor, and they were also preparing to enter the fourth floor. I discussed with the Cerberus. Perhaps we could find a way to deal with the dragons on the fourth floor. So we entered Li Feng's spatial divine item, and followed them to the Sky Cloud realm. When we came to the Sky Cloud realm, we realized how insignificant we were. Any one of us could easily destroy the dragons. Tan Wu shook his head and laughed. The white-eyed wolf was surprised. You came to the Sky Cloud realm to deal with the dragons of the ancient realm? Yes, because we learned from Yi's master that the dragons have a sovereign divine weapon. At that time, Qin Feiyong's castle was sealed. So we thought of going to the fourth floor to find a way to deal with the dragons. But before we could go back, you had already come to the Sky Cloud realm. Tan Wu smiled bitterly. How much do you know about Li Feng and the blood ancestor? Qin Feiyang asked. I don't know. After entering the Sky Cloud realm, we parted ways. Later, we also entered the Death Glacier to train and met the Divine Beast uncle by chance, so we came to the Qilin Holy Land together. After Tanwu finished speaking, he asked, by the way, did you meet Li Feng and the others? Yes. Before coming to the Death Glacier, we met them. Qin Feiyang nodded. How are they doing now? Tanwu asked. Qin Feiyang briefly explained what Li Feng had done in the northern continent over the years. Sigh. Tanwu sighed and shook his head. I should have stayed with them back then. Maybe I could have stopped these killings. Even if you follow them, they will still do the same. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then he looked at Tanwu and the Cerberus and said, speaking of which, you guys don't know Li Feng, right? I didn't know him at first. When we met them in the Underworld King's Hell, they wanted to kill us. Later on, when we accidentally mentioned you, we found out that it was all related to you. It can be considered a kind of fate. Tanwu smiled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Even if it was fate, it was an ill-fated fate. The white-eyed wolf said, now that we've found almost all of our old friends, we're only missing that gray castle. Where is it now? What are you planning? Back then, when they entered the Sky Cloud realm, the fire python had said that the young man, the snow python, Li Feng, the blood ancestor, and the gray castle had all entered the Sky Cloud realm. Now, he had already found the young man, the snow python, Li Feng, the blood ancestor, and even Tanwu and the hell god hound. He was only missing this gray castle. There's no rush. When it's time to show up, it will naturally show up. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Bloodblade, Snow, the gray castle, and the fire bead that was sealed in the soul-sealing valley were all existences of the same era. They all had a common enemy, the ice dragon and the small beast. Even if they were planning something, it would definitely be against the ice dragon and the small beast. Therefore, he didn't have to worry about it at all. Okay. No matter what, it's good to be alive. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Tanwu and the others also had a smile on their faces. What's next? Do you want to come with us? The white-eyed wolf looked at Tanwu and the others and asked. I'm afraid that's not possible. The fire Qilin shook its head. Why? You don't want to give up your identity as the Qilin saint? The white-eyed wolf joked. That's not it. After all, the Qilin master is my master. Besides, if I stay in the Qilin Holy Land, it will definitely help you. The fire Qilin smiled. All right, I won't force you. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at Tanwu, Uncle Divine Beast, and the hellhound, asking, what about you guys? Tanwu smiled and said, we also plan to stay in the Qilin Holy Land. After all, the Qilin master has taken care of us all these years. Moreover, if we stay here, we can take care of each other. The Uncle Divine Beast and the hellhound also nodded. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, however, the battle between the Qilin clan and us will erupt sooner or later. I'm worried that at that time they will harm you. Moreover, now that Qi Xiong and the 9 patriarchs hate us to the core, they will definitely find an opportunity to take revenge on you. With the relationship with the Qilin master, they don't have the guts. Besides, we're not stupid. If we see that the situation is not good, don't we know to run? Tanwu chuckled. This, Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and nodded with a smile. All right, when there's danger, let me know. Even if I'm at the end of the world, I will rush over as soon as I receive the notice. Okay. Tanwu nodded. After everyone took out the divine sound transmission stone and established a contract bridge, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf took them to enjoy the scenery of the Black Tortoise world. For the next 3 days. It could be said that these 3 days were the most relaxing 3 days for Qin Feiyang since he came to the Sky Cloud realm. Qin Feiyang admired Qi Xiaoyun more and more. He was completely like an otherworldly expert. It was very relaxing to get along with him. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Qi Xiong, it's time to fulfill your promise. The white-eyed wolf's arrogant voice sounded in the sky above the fire Qilin clan. Shua, Qizhi, the white-bearded old man, and many fire Qilin clansmen appeared one after another. However, Qi Xiong and his son were still nowhere to be seen. What happened? They really ran away? The white-eyed wolf, who was standing in the sky, couldn't help but frown. Qi Xiong? Qizhi couldn't help but frown as he looked at a courtyard below and shouted. But there was still no response. Qi released his divine sense and shrouded in all directions. His face suddenly sank slightly as he couldn't find any trace of Qi Xiong and his son. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qi and raised his eyebrows. Lord Patriarch, what do you say now? Qi clenched his hands and turned to look at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. He said in a deep voice, I keep my promise. Now, I will kneel down in his place and kowtow to you. After saying that, he knelt down in the air. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and stopped Qi. Qi raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. This is a grudge between us and Qi Xiong. It has nothing to do with Senior. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. But Qi seemed to feel that he was in the wrong and his face was full of apology. It's okay. There's still a long way to go. Can you hide for a lifetime? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Sigh. Qi sighed deeply. It seemed that this grudge could no longer be resolved. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Thank you, Senior, for taking care of me during this period of time. We will meet again someday. Qi waved his hand and activated a space-time teleportation divine tool. He apologized again. I'm really sorry. Qin Feiyang smiled and was about to step into the space-time teleportation divine tool. Young Master Qin, wait a moment. At this time, Xiaoying flew up from below with a palm-sized jade box in his hand. He walked in front of Qin Feiyang and said, This is a gift from the young master. Qin Feiyang suspiciously received the jade box. When he opened the lid, he was stunned. It was actually a box full of ancient dragon god tea. This was a big gift. When he came back to his senses, Qin Feiyang looked down at the courtyard and saw Qi Xiaoyun standing in front of the tea garden, looking up at them with a smile on his face. Brother Qi, thank you. Let's meet again in the future. Qin Feiyang put away the jade box and cupped his hands in thanks. He then turned and entered the space-time divine tool without looking back. The white-eyed wolf, Princess Huafeng, and the other three also followed. After watching the group leave, the white-bearded old man looked at Qi and asked, Patriarch, what do you think of them? They will definitely become great in the future. Qi nodded. The white-bearded old man smiled and said, I'm afraid what you care about the most is the blood-red wolf summoned by the golden-winged wolf king, right? Don't you care? He asked. What will come will eventually come. Just like what humans often say, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. The white-bearded old man smiled hoarsely. Father, Master. Qi Xiaoyun was silent for a while. He then flew up and looked at Qi and the white-bearded old man. What's wrong? The two were suspicious. Qi Xiaoyun bowed and said, Please allow me to go to the lightning punishment heavenly stairs. What? Qi, Little Ing, and the nearby Fire Qilin clansmen all changed their expressions. The Fire Qilin, Tan Wu the Hellhound, and the uncle were all ready to leave. But when they heard this, they couldn't help but look at Qi Xiaoyun in shock. It seemed that he had understood Qin Feiyang's words. As for the white-bearded old man, there was a trace of relief in his eyes. Little Ing came back to her senses and said angrily, Young master, are you crazy? Is the lightning punishment heavenly stairs a place you can go? Besides, who are you? Who are Qin Feiyang and the golden-winged wolf king? Is there a need for you to compete with them? Little Ing, this is not a competition. Qi Xiaoyun shook his head. If it's not a competition, what is it? Little Ing frowned. There are some things that you won't understand even if I tell you. In fact, even I don't understand it now, but I think I should give it a try. Qi Xiaoyun smiled. I won't allow it. Qi finally spoke. What kind of joke was this? Wasn't he courting death by going to the lightning punishment heavenly stairs? Qi Xiaoyun said helplessly, Father, didn't you always say that I have no ambition? Now that I want to improve, why are you stopping me? Qi said angrily, You're obviously courting death. What does that have to do with improvement? Even if I really die, I want to give it a try. Qi Xiaoyun smiled faintly and turned to look at the white-bearded old man, asking, Master, what do you think? Qi looked at the white-bearded old man and said, Old Bai, you must not agree. The white-bearded old man smiled hoarsely at Qi, then looked at Qi Xiaoyun and said, Do what you want to do. Don't let yourself have any regrets. Old Bai. Qi glared at the white-bearded old man. He's no longer a child. The white-bearded old man smiled. But, Qi still wanted to say something. But Qi Xiaoyun bowed to the white-bearded old man and said gratefully, "Thank you, master." After saying that, he rushed toward the lightning punishment heavenly stairs without looking back. This silly child. Why won't he listen to me? And you old bai. You let him do whatever he wants. Sooner or later you'll get him killed. I think you're trying to anger me to death. Qi cursed and chased after Qi Xiaoyun. Littling also anxiously chased after Qi Xiaoyun. The white-bearded old man shook his head and smiled. He turned to the fire Qilin, Tanwu and the others, cupped his fists and said, "If you have time, help me thank Qin Feiyang." If it wasn't for Qin Feiyang's reminder, who knew when Qi Xiaoyun would have understood the true meaning of the lightning punishment heavenly stairs. Chapter 36-39. Northern Continent. In the northwest, at the entrance of the Death Glacier, Shua, a group of people appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Princess Huafeng. It's Qin Feiyang. Didn't they go to the central region of the Death Glacier some time ago? When did they come out? I've been recuperating here these past few days, but I didn't see them come out. Outside the entrance, many people were recuperating. Seeing Qin Feiyang and the others appear, their faces were filled with surprise. Because they didn't know about the existence of the Qilin Holy Land. Nor did they know that the Qilin clan could ignore the rules of the Death Glacier. Therefore, they would never have thought that Qin Feiyang and the others would be teleported out from the core region. They thought that Qin Feiyang and the others had already come out and were now planning to enter the Death Glacier. Daifuku raised his head and looked at the Death Glacier, sighing. These past few days are like a dream. Everyone nodded. Who would have thought that Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf would be able to pass the test of the Thunder Punishment Heavenly Stairway? Who would have thought that White-Eyed Wolf would be able to plunder Qi Yefeng's Law of Life and step into the ranks of Paragon Dominators? Of course, for Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf, this trip to the Qilin Holy Land was definitely worth it. First, they found the Fire Qilin and unlocked the ancient castle's seal, causing earth-shattering changes to the Black Tortoise world. Then, White-Eyed Wolf obtained the Law of Life and his strength advanced by leaps and bounds. And then, one man and one wolf passed through the Thunder Punishment Heavenly Stairway and obtained 2 super forbidden techniques bestowed by the Qilin Lord. Finally, Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf obtained the Law Miniature and opened the door to the ultimate profound meaning. As expected, only with effort would there be gains. Alright, it's time for us to go back. Princess Huafeng looked at Pyrotechnic Glow and Daifuku and said with a smile. Go back? Pyrotechnic Glow was slightly stunned and hurriedly said, Sis, why are we going back? Nonsense. Of course I'm going back to cultivate in seclusion. Princess Huafeng glared at him and said angrily, What else do you want? Haven't you had enough fun these days? I don't want to go back. Pyrotechnic Glow mumbled. He wasn't willing to part with Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. He was unwilling to part with the Peerless Divine Brew and Black Tortoise Divine Brew. Don't tell me you're still relying on them? They have to agree first. Princess Huafeng glared at her younger brother, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. She hesitated for a moment, then looked at the White-Eyed Wolf and asked, Don't you have anything to say to me? Qin Feiyang looked at Princess Huafeng in surprise. Why was he specifically asking about the White-Eyed Wolf? There was a situation, but the White-Eyed Wolf seemed to have a screw loose. He picked his nose and said, See you never. Princess Huafeng's face darkened. She turned to Daifuku, who was also in a daze, and shouted, Let's go. Okay. Daifuku came back to his senses, nodded repeatedly, and opened a space-time transmission channel. White-Eyed Wolf, are you stupid? What a good opportunity. Can't you be more careful? Qin Feiyang glared at the White-Eyed Wolf and thought, What kind of opportunity is this? The White-Eyed Wolf pursed his lips. Okay. Qin Feiyang was helpless. She even called him a blockhead all day long. Who was the blockhead here? Princess Huafeng had already said it so bluntly, but this damn wolf cub was still sleepwalking. Princess Huafeng waved her hand, and the Fire Phoenix Sword and the Fire Phoenix Divine Jade appeared. She said, Follow him and come back after 1,000 years. The two sovereigns' divine weapons shook as a response to her. Boom! However, just as the four of them were about to leave, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted in the sky. Then, the power of Allah surged down like a tide. Be careful! Qin Feiyong looked up and suddenly shouted. Clang! The Fire Phoenix sword and the Fire Phoenix divine jade were immediately awakened. Divine power surged and protected the group of people. The next moment, the power of the law roared, and the space-time transmission channel opened by Daifuku shattered. This is the law of death. Qin Feiyong glanced at the surging power of the law in front of him, and his eyes suddenly darkened. This was because the law contained a terrifying power of death that enveloped all directions. The mountains and rivers at the entrance below collapsed crazily under the power of death. The people and beasts that were cultivating here all died in an instant. Looking at the intensity, it has reached the level of the ultimacy. Daifuku's face suddenly darkened as he looked at the devastated land below. He looked up at the sky. Whoosh! Two figures appeared. It's you. Looking at the two people who appeared, Qin Feiyong and the others were furious. That's right. The two of them were Qi Xiong and Qi Yu who ran away from the Qilin sacred ground. But they didn't expect to be ambushed here. I was worried about where to find you, but you actually came to me. Now I'll send you to hell. The white-eyed wolf smiled coldly. The four ultimacies of the law of death, the law of destruction, the law of space-time, and the law of cause and effect were activated at the same time. With the power of destruction, they charged toward the father and son. They could have escaped if they had obediently holed up. How dare they come out and cause trouble? Weren't they courting death? However, in the face of the white-eyed wolf's four ultimacies, the father and son didn't panic at all. On the contrary, they looked at Qin Feiyong and the others with eyes full of ridicule. Qin Feiyong noticed this scene and frowned slightly. Suddenly, his face changed drastically. Looking at the white-eyed wolf and Princess Huafeng, he shouted, "Leave now, quickly." Leave? The white-eyed wolf and Princess Huafeng were a little stunned. Weren't they just two defeated opponents? Why was Qin Feiyong so scared? Quickly! Qin Feiyong shouted. With the strength of the father and son, they definitely wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. So there must be others. Qin Feiyong is indeed Qin Feiyong. He noticed that something was wrong so quickly. Suddenly, accompanied by a cold smile, 5 figures appeared behind Qin Feiyong and the others, Bing Runing. Princess Huafeng's face changed. That's right. It was Bing Runing. The white-haired old woman, the white-haired old man, and the middle-aged man were also there. The fifth was a middle-aged man in a white robe. He was 7 feet tall and his face was full of vicissitudes. His whole body emitted a bone-piercing cold current. Seeing this middle-aged man, Princess Huafeng's face turned pale instantly. Pyrotechnic Glow and Daifuku were the same. Their eyes seemed to be trembling. The middle-aged man glanced at Princess Huafeng and the others, then looked directly at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. His eyes were as cold as ice. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf just looked at the middle-aged man and couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Uncle, what do you mean by this? Princess Huafeng came back to her senses and said angrily. Uncle? Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf were shocked. Pyrotechnic Glow said, "This is not good. He is Bing Runing's father, the patriarch of the Ice Phoenix clan, Bing Chongtian." What? The man and the wolf's pupils contracted. Even the patriarch of the Ice Phoenix clan came in person. It seemed that this was not a good time. Bing Chongtian's eyes turned and fell on Princess Huafeng and the others. He said, "I should be the one asking you this. What do you mean by this? Why are you following Qin Feiyong and the golden-winged wolf king?" "This is our private business," Princess Huafeng said. Bing Chongtian said indifferently, "As long as you are a member of the Feng people, nothing you do is private." "Then what do you mean? Are you going to kill us?" Daifuku and Xiaofu carefully protected Princess Huafeng and Pyrotechnic Glow. "Two followers, how dare you interrupt?" Bing Chongtian's eyes were cold. Daifuku said angrily, "We are followers, but don't forget that we have a 1,000-year agreement with Qin Feiyong. This is the agreement between the patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan and Qin Feiyong. What does it have to do with the Ice Phoenix clan? It's funny that the patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan made a 1,000-year agreement with a human being. Aren't you afraid of becoming a laughingstock?" Bing Runing sneered. Bing Runing, don't be presumptuous. Pyrotechnic Glow shouted angrily. I am presumptuous, so what? Come and kill me if you can. Bing Runing's face was full of provocation. Pyrotechnic Glow clenched his hands and said angrily, what is wrong with Aunt May and Aunt Lon? Didn't I ask them to go back and keep an eye on Bing Runing? Why didn't I tell them in advance? Bing Runing is nothing, but who is Bing Changtian? If he is determined to kill us, Aunt May and Aunt Lon won't be able to stop him. I'm afraid they don't even know that Bing Changtian has left the phoenix nest. Princess Huafeng said telepathically. What should we do now? Pyrotechnic Glow was a bit nervous. What else can we do? We have to force our way out. Princess Huafeng's eyes were filled with killing intent. She said to herself, Qin Feiyang, Golden-Winged Wolf King, do it. With your current strength, Daifuku and Xiaofu, you should be able to break out. Break out? No. I am going to kill them. None of them will leave here alive. A monstrous killing intent erupted from the white-eyed wolf's body. Are you kidding me? Qi Xiong doesn't have a Dominator Divine Weapon, but Bing Changtian has 5 Dominator Divine Weapons. Princess Huafeng shouted angrily. 5? So what? We are not any less than them. White-eyed wolf grinned and stared at Bing Changtian. You are the leader of the Ice Phoenix clan, right? Let me see how strong you are. How dare you be so arrogant in front of us? You are indeed arrogant. Bing Changtian, Qi Xiong, it seems like you can't take them down if we don't show up. Before White-eyed Wolf could finish his words, another cold voice sounded. Swish. The next moment, in front, left, and right of Qin Feiyang's group, another 9 figures appeared. There are more people. Princess Huafeng, Pyrotechnic Glow, and Daifuku turned pale. Qin Feiyang and White-eyed Wolf glanced at the 9 people. They were all unfamiliar faces. There were men and women, old and young. Their auras were no weaker than Qi Xiong and Bing Changtian. Who are they? White-eyed Wolf asked. Daifuku said, they are your sworn enemies, the 9 leaders of the dragons. The 9 leaders. Qin Feiyang and White-eyed Wolf looked at each other. They were also shocked. They didn't expect that Qi Xiong would ally with Bing Changtian to deal with them. He even called the 9 leaders of the dragons. Chapter 3640. The 9 clan leaders of the dragons are like Bing Changtian. But that's not all. The most terrifying thing is that they all have sovereign divine weapons. This time I'm afraid we're going to die here. Daifuku's face was extremely gloomy. Call for reinforcements? The other party came prepared. How could they give them the chance? Aren't there 10 major clans of dragons? Why are there only 9 clan leaders? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Daifuku was slightly taken aback. He glanced at the 9 people and said, I don't see the clan leader of the Silver Dragon clan. What's going on? The clan leader of the Silver Dragon clan, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. The clan leader of the Silver Dragon clan should be the father of the little dragon's princess. Could it be related to the little princess? Despair and tremble. Bing Runing laughed. Clang! The Ice Phoenix Sword, the Black Ice Divine Hammer, and the Black Ice Divine Bow appeared. There were also 2 sovereign divine weapons that they had never seen before. The 5 sovereign divine weapons exuded an aura that could destroy the world. How dare you steal my son's Eye of Heaven? You'll pay the price today. The clan leader of the Golden Dragon clan said as a golden spear appeared. It was the sovereign divine weapon that had saved the fire dragon in the Een Demon Land. The Golden Dragon Spear. Qin Feiyang heard and turned to look at the clan leader of the Golden Dragons. He was about 40 years old and wore a golden 5-clawed dragon robe. His eyes were like 2 golden suns, exuding a shocking murderous aura. The Eye of Heaven is the bet between your son and me. Since I won, the Eye of Heaven naturally belongs to me. Why are you looking for me now? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. You're just a lowly human. Do you think you deserve the Eye of Heaven? The clan leader of the Golden Dragons sneered. I don't, do you? If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. Let's see what you're capable of. Qin Feiyang sneered. One-on-one. I really don't know why you still have such childish thoughts. When dealing with an enemy, as long as there is a chance, naturally we will do whatever it takes. The golden dragons chuckled coldly as their golden dragon spear reappeared, and they hurtled directly toward Qin Feiyang. Clang! The castle, the horsetail whisk, and the Grim Reaper's sword appeared at the same time. Divine might surged forth and crashed toward the golden dragon's spear. Looks like we can only fight to the death. Pyrotechnic glow roared. The fiery phoenix saber and the divine phoenix spear also came out of his body with overflowing divine power. The flaming phoenix sword and the flaming phoenix divine jade also awakened immediately. Not bad, not bad. You only brought 4 out of the 5 sovereign divine weapons of the Inferno Phoenix clan. However, in terms of the number of sovereigns we have the upper hand. The other 8 clan leaders of the dragons also activated their sovereign divine weapons. White Dragon Sword, Black Dragon Mirror, Blood Dragon Blade, etc. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and the others' faces darkened. On their side, they had a total of 7 sovereign divine weapons. Even after activating the slaughter domain, they only had 8. But the other party, the Ice Phoenix clan, had 5 sovereign divine weapons, and with the dragon's 9 sovereign divine weapons, they had a total of 14. It was a 1-on-2 situation, and they had no chance of winning at all. Qin Feiyang, do you need me to help you now? A voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang immediately glanced at the Blood Dragon Blade. That's right. He still had the Blood Dragon Blade. However, even with the Blood Dragon Blade, the other party had a total of 13 sovereign divine weapons. It was far from enough. What's going on? Why are there so many sovereign divine weapons? The aura of 21 sovereign divine weapons shocked everyone. Even the central region of the Death Glacier could feel this terrifying aura. As for the northern continent, the aura covered half of the continent. Countless people and ferocious beasts cast their gazes in this direction, full of surprise. Boom! Moreover, under the impact of the 21 sovereign divine weapons, the void and earth were collapsing crazily. It was like a scene of doomsday. The nearby beasts and humans were frantically running for their lives. What's going on? Heavenly Palace. The 4 leaders also rushed into the sky and looked in the direction of the Death Glacier. It seems like there's the aura of Qin Feiyang's sovereign divine weapons. What is he doing? The 4 of them were also shocked. The aura of 21 sovereign divine weapons. If they really fought, it would be a nightmare for the northern continent. At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at the void and earth that were crazily shattering and said in a deep voice, "What you're doing will destroy the northern continent. You'll make this land a living hell and blood will flow like a river." A group of lowly ants. Their deaths are not worth regretting. Qi Xiong said contemptuously, "Bastard. You want to fight, right? Let's go to the Star River." The white-eyed wolf roared. Billions of living beings were actually just ants? No need. Let's end your worthless lives here. It won't take long, so not too many of you will die. The golden dragon smiled coldly. There was a ruthless coldness in his voice. "Everyone, the situation might change if we delay. Hurry up and attack," Qi Xiong said. Clang! Boom! The 14 sovereign divine weapons immediately charged toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang, make a decision now. The Blood Dragon Blade roared. It did not dare to attack Qin Feiyang because of the Blood Oath. If it attacked Qin Feiyang, it would be killed by the heavens. Qin Feiyang looked at the White Dragon Blade and the other sovereign divine weapons. He then looked at Qi Xiong and the others. A glint flashed in his eyes. Although it seemed like a dead end, it was not impossible to break out of it. The Blood Dragon Blade was the only one who could break out of this situation. The golden dragons and the others were full of confidence. However, they did not know that the Blood Dragon Blade had already submitted to them. The existence of the Blood Dragon Blade would be a devastating blow to these people. Control Bing Changtian and the others immediately. Qin Feiyang shouted secretly. Although the Blood Dragon Blade could not continue to lurk among the dragons, he could not think of a better way now. He could not really watch the northern continent bleed and be covered in corpses. Okay. The Blood Dragon Blade responded secretly and immediately turned in the air. Blood Dragon Blade, what are you doing? Seeing this, the patriarch of the Blood Dragon clan shouted. I'm sorry, but all of you kneel down. The Blood Dragon Blade cackled, and a terrifying divine might directly pounced on the Blood Dragon patriarch and the others. Who would have thought that the dragon's sovereign divine weapon would suddenly turn against them and attack them? Accompanied by screams, the 9 dragons' clan leaders bore the brunt of the attack. Their physical bodies were shattered on the spot, and even their divine souls were severely injured. What's going on? Princess Huafeng and the other 3 were also dumbfounded as they watched this scene. What was going on with the blood dragon blade? How could it kill the 9 clan leaders? Bing Chongtian and the other 4 were the same. Before they could recover, a fatal crisis swept over. The blood dragon blade's divine power arrived in Bing Chongtian, and the others were also killed and their physical bodies were directly shattered. What kind of super forbidden skill was under the sovereign divine weapon? It was completely vulnerable. Then, the blood dragon blade imprisoned the divine souls of more than 10 people together. He shouted, "By Longjian, all of you stop right now. Otherwise, I will destroy their divine souls." Blood dragon blade, what are you doing? This sudden scene even caught Bai Longjian and the other sovereign divine weapons off guard, and they roared in anger. Humph! The blood dragon blade snorted and firmly imprisoned the divine souls of Bing Chongtian and the others. If Bai Longjian and the other sovereign divine weapons dared to attack, their divine souls would immediately be shattered. Why are you doing this? The blood dragon clan leader roared. This was his sovereign divine weapon, so it was the most difficult for him to accept. Everyone, except for Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, the castle, the horsetail whisk, and the sword of Thanatos, no one knew what was going on. They were all puzzled. Did it find its conscience? Is it going to give up the darkness and help us? Pyrotechnic Glow murmured. The white-eyed wolf heard Pyrotechnic Glow's murmur and couldn't help but roll his eyes. Let me tell you. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and looked at Bing Chongtian and the others with ridicule in his eyes. Swish! In an instant, everyone's eyes, including the sovereign divine weapons, were fixed on Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Qi Xiong and said with a smile, "I admire you. You managed to persuade Bing Chongtian and the 9 clan leaders of the dragons to join forces and set up a killing trap here. You deserve to die." Qi Xiong said gloomily, "You're stubborn. If you didn't do this and take the initiative to fulfill your promise and kneel down and kowtow to us, we wouldn't have troubled you in the future. Unfortunately, you chose a path of no return. You're a good schemer. Bing Runing and the princes and princesses of the dragons have suffered great losses in my hands. If I asked them for help, they would have agreed without hesitation. That's true. If it weren't for the blood dragon blade, we would have been dead this time. No one would have been able to save us. What a pity. What you didn't expect was that the blood dragon blade had already submitted to me. Now it's a sharp blade that I've placed in the dragons. You can imagine how terrifying it would be for someone else to place a sovereign divine weapon by their side. It's fine if it doesn't move, but once it moves it will definitely destroy the world," Qin Feiyang said in a sonorous and forceful manner. His tone carried an austere aura. What? The blood dragon blade submitted to Qin Feiyang. The group of people turned pale with fright. Even the current allies, Princess Huafeng and the other 3, couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb when they heard this. What kind of method was this? If it were them, they would also have a sovereign divine weapon planted by Qin Feiyang. This situation, just thinking about it made their hair stand on end, because this wasn't an ordinary spy, but a sovereign divine weapon that could destroy everything. The blood dragon stared at the blood dragon blade and roared, "Is this true? Of course. Otherwise, why would you fall into my hands now?" The blood dragon blade replied. Why? Why? What benefits did he give you?" The blood dragons roared. "Nothing at all." The blood dragon blade seemed to be rather annoyed when it said this. To think that it, a sovereign divine weapon, was actually controlled by a human. If this news spread, it would definitely make people laugh their heads off. You didn't even give him any benefits and you submitted to him? The blood dragons became even angrier. Can't I find him more pleasing to the eye? The blood dragon blade said angrily. In any case, it couldn't say that it was controlled. It couldn't afford to lose face. Bastard! The blood dragons were furious. The golden dragons and the others were naturally the same. Such a thing happened to them, the dragons, was simply a great humiliation. Chapter 3641. Weren't you all quite arrogant before? Why do you all look like that now? Do you want to eat me? The white-eyed wolf looked at them mockingly. Their expressions were really pleasing to the eye. In the face of such undisguised mockery, the group of people felt sullen and angry to the extreme. They were about to win, but because of the blood dragon blade's betrayal, they were in a desperate situation and became prisoners. All of a sudden, the furious blood dragons looked at the white dragon blade and the other sovereign divine weapons and shouted, "Don't worry about us. Kill them. You're courting death." The blood dragon blade was full of killing intent and a divine power shrouded over. Accompanied by a scream, the blood dragon's divine soul was destroyed by more than half. Qin Feiyong looked at the blood dragon blade and asked, "Did they leave their divine souls in the dragon nest in advance?" Bing Changtian and Qi Xiong don't know, but the dragon's clan leaders didn't. It's their fault for being too confident. They thought they could capture them easily. The blood dragon blade sneered. Very good. Qin Feiyong nodded. Since the 9 clan leaders of the dragons didn't leave their divine souls in advance, Qi Xiong and Bing Changtian probably didn't leave their divine souls in advance either. It was no doubt an extra layer of insurance for him, because if they didn't leave their divine souls in advance, they would be afraid of death. Besides, they were all super experts who dominated a region. Naturally, they wouldn't be willing to die like this. Qin Feiyong said, "White-eyed wolf, open the space-time portal and get ready to go to the Sea Lion Island." Sea Lion Island? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Qin Feiyong said, "The most important thing now is to get rid of the white dragon blade and the other sovereign divine weapons. Do you really want to fight a bloody battle with them? Then let's forget it." The white-eyed wolf shook his head without hesitation. What a joke. 13 sovereign divine weapons. How could they be a joke? Although Bing Changtian and the others had fallen into their hands, they could only make the Dominator divine weapons hesitate. They were far from being strong enough to fight against the Dominator divine weapons. Qin Feiyong looked at the blood dragon blade and said, "Bring them here. Get out of the way." The blood dragon blade yelled at the white dragon sword and the other sovereign divine weapons. "Didn't you hear me? Don't worry about us, kill them." The dragon's clan leader was still roaring. Now he had almost lost his mind. However, White Dragon Sword and the other Dominator divine weapons followed Bing Changtian and Golden Dragon clan leader. Of course they wouldn't listen to him. They didn't TT if that's the case, we'll just fight to the death. Qin Feiyong said. Falling into your hands, isn't it a dead end? You test master test T blood, he'll never show mercy to his enemies. So, it's better to fight him head-on instead of compromising. Don't be afraid. He won't dare to kill us now. He's afraid that White Dragon Blade and the other sovereign divine weapons will kill them if we die. Qi Xiong looked at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf with disdain. That's right. He's not only afraid of White Dragon Blade and the other sovereign divine weapons, but he's also worried about the people in the northern continent. Qin Feiyong, if you dare to kill us, I can guarantee you that once we die, all the living beings in the northern continent will die because of your foolish actions. Bing Runing, the white-haired old woman, the middle-aged man, and the white-haired old man stared at Qin Feiyong and sneered. Bing Runing, you're a crazy woman. Princess Huafeng was furious. No matter how cruel she was, she couldn't drag so many innocent people down with her. That's right. I'm a crazy woman. What can you do to me? Bing Runing sneered. Don't tarnish the name crazy. You don't deserve it. Qin Feiyong's eyes turned cold as he looked at the blood dragon blade and shouted, "Kill the 3 clowns beside Bing Runing first." Don't you dare. Bing Runing shouted. Do you think I don't dare? Qin Feiyong smiled and looked at the blood dragon blade. Do it. The blood dragon blade laughed and shrouded the white-haired old man, the white-haired old woman, and the middle-aged man. Your Highness, Patriarch, save us. The 3 of them shouted in despair. Bing Changtian shouted, Qin Feiyong, do you really want to start a war with the Ice Phoenix clan? What a joke. Who's here to ambush us? Start a war? Do you think I'm afraid of the Ice Phoenix clan? If Feng Ho and the Fire Phoenix clan don't make a move, we can slaughter the Ice Phoenix clan with our current means. Do you really think you're so great? Qin Feiyong's eyes were full of disdain. As soon as he finished speaking, the divine souls of the middle-aged man and the other 2 shattered into pieces with a shrill cry. They were truly destroyed. Seeing this scene, the Golden Dragon's patriarch and the others couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Especially Qin Feiyang's words. How domineering was it to slaughter the Ice Phoenix clan in minutes? At the same time, Bing Changtian and Bing Runing couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end. Qi Xiong and his son had already told them what happened in the Kirin sacred ground. It was because of this that they joined forces with Qi Xiong and the other dragon's patriarchs to ambush Qin Feiyang and the others here. Because whether it was Qin Feiyang or the white-eyed wolf, they had become existences that they feared. Therefore now they wanted to kill him as soon as possible. But they didn't expect that Qin Feiyang had placed such a terrifying chess piece by their side. Qin Feiyang looked at the white dragon sword and the other 13 sovereign divine weapons and said in a deep voice, "Don't doubt my means. If you don't move away, your master and the others will die." The 13 sovereign divine weapons hesitated. "Fine. Then I'll kill them one by one. I'll kill you until you despair and tremble. As for the creatures in the northern continent, if you want to kill them, go ahead. I won't sacrifice myself to save them. I, Qin Feiyang, am not that righteous. Besides, I believe that sooner or later, someone will come to you to collect this debt of blood." Qin Feiyang paused after every word. His murderous aura surged into the sky. He looked at the blood dragon blade and shouted, "Kill the golden dragon patriarch first." "Okay." The blood dragon blade laughed. The golden dragon's patriarch's eyes trembled. The golden dragon spear was also shocked and shouted, "Stop, I'll move aside." After saying that, it retreated to the side. Seeing the golden dragon spear retreat, the other sovereign divine weapons hesitated for a moment before retreating to the side. The blood dragon blade immediately rushed to the side of Qin Feiyang and the others with a group of divine souls. "Well done. From now on, you're my brother. If anyone bullies you, tell me. I'll stand up for you." The white-eyed wolf looked at the blood dragon blade and laughed. When the blood dragon blade heard this, it really wanted to slap him. "Brother, stand up for him? Don't you think about your own weight? Cut the crap, hurry up," Qin Feiyang urged. The white-eyed wolf waved its claws, and a space-time teleportation channel appeared. The white dragon sword said in a deep voice, "You can't take them away just like that." "That's right. We have to let them go. Otherwise, as you said, we'll just fight to the death." The black dragon mirror and the other sovereign divine weapons also spoke one after another. They definitely couldn't let Qin Feiyang take the chief of the golden dragons and the others away. Because with Qin Feiyang's personality, once he was out of danger, he would definitely kill the chief of the golden dragons and the others. At that time, they wouldn't even know where Qin Feiyang and the others went, let alone save the chief of the golden dragons and the others. Impossible. But don't worry, I won't kill them now. But if you want to save them, ask Feng Ho, the Dragon King, and the Qilin Master to come find me personally. After saying that, Qin Feiyang turned around and led the group into the space-time channel like lightning. The ancient castle and the other sovereign divine weapons released a monstrous divine power and blasted toward the white dragon sword and the other 13 sovereign divine weapons. They also rushed into the space-time channel without looking back. Sea Lion Island. The moment Qin Feiyang and the others appeared, they directly destroyed the space-time teleportation channel. This way, even if the white dragon sword and the other 13 sovereign divine weapons destroyed the divine power of the ancient castle and the other sovereign divine weapons, they wouldn't be able to chase after them. "Boss Qin, Boss Wolf, what's going on?" The sea lion was cultivating in the cave below. When it sensed the aura of the 8 sovereign divine weapons in the sky, its expression changed and it hurriedly ran out. When it saw Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, it heaved a sigh of relief and then asked, "It's fine, don't worry." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. "That's good." The sea lion heaved a sigh of relief and glanced at Princess Huafeng and the others. "Not long ago, the little princess of the dragons sent you a message." Qin Feiyang was stunned. Not long ago? Could it be that she wanted to inform him about the ambush? That was close. I almost died there. Pyrotechnic Glow, the Daifuku brothers, and Princess Huafeng looked at the familiar Sea Lion Island and couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. This time it was really a narrow escape. "Look at how scared you are." The white-eyed wolf despised them. "Brother Wolf, you really can't blame us for being scared. Think about it, Bing Changtian, the 9 patriarchs of the dragons, Qi Xiong, and 13 sovereign divine weapons. Such a lineup, no matter who it is, they would be scared out of their wits. I'm already proud that I didn't piss my pants. Pyrotechnic Glow shook his head. After living for so many years, it was the first time he had experienced such an exciting thing. However, he was more and more impressed by the means of Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. They could actually subdue the blood dragon blade? Not to mention him, even existences like Feng Ho and the Lord of Kirin might not be able to make the dragon's sovereign divine weapon willingly surrender. But he didn't know that the blood dragon blade was not willing to surrender at all. Father, what should we do? At the same time, Qiyu looked at Qin Feiyang and the others, as well as the castle and the other sovereign divine weapons, and his face was full of panic. He had already thought about how to torture Qin Feiyang and the others, but he didn't expect that they would become prisoners in the end. However, Qi Xiong was now in a panic. Back in the Kirin Holy Land, he had already angered Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Now he had joined forces with the dragons and the ice phoenixes to set up a trap to kill them. With Qin Feiyang's character, he would definitely not let him go easily. Chapter 3642. Slap. Suddenly, a loud slap was heard. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. They looked up and saw Princess Huafeng standing in front of Bing Runing, her face full of anger. Bing Runing was now in the form of an ice phoenix. First Princess Fire Phoenix's slap had nearly shattered her divine soul. One could imagine just how great the strength of this slap was. How dare you slap my face in front of everyone? Bing Runing stared at Princess Huafeng in disbelief. Slap. Princess Huafeng raised her hand and slapped her again. You bastard! Bing Runing roared. Slap. Princess Huafeng raised her hand and slapped her again. Bing Chongtian could not help but say angrily, Don't go too far. After all, you are sisters. However, before Bing Chongtian could finish his words, Bing Runing was slapped in the face again. Bing Runing was about to go crazy. Well done. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Princess Huafeng stared at the white-eyed wolf and said to Bing Runing, Do you know why I slapped you? Why? Bing Runing roared. Because you deserve it. Even if you have a grudge with us, you shouldn't implicate innocent creatures. Do you know how many people and beasts there are in the northern continent? If it weren't for the blood dragon blade's betrayal, these innocent people would have died in your hands. Princess Huafeng said angrily. He haha. I didn't expect the Princess Royal of the Fire Phoenix clan to be worried about a group of lowly ants. Bing Runing laughed crazily. Stubborn. Princess Huafeng's eyes turned cold, and she slapped Bing Runing again. This time, Bing Runing screamed, and her divine soul collapsed. War! Bing Chongtian roared. Uncle. And you? Princess Huafeng looked at Bing Zhongtian and said disappointedly, You are the patriarch of the Ice Phoenix clan. You are a person of virtue and prestige. But now, you are here to interfere with the grudges of the younger generation. Don't you feel ashamed? Bing Chongtian lowered his head in shame. I don't believe that Lord Feng Ho didn't tell you about the 1,000-year agreement between the Feng people and Qin Feiyang. Now that you're colluding with the dragons and Qi Xiong to kill Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, aren't you afraid that Lord Feng Ho will punish you? You are such a smart person. Don't you know that Qi Xiong is using you? Princess Huafeng was furious. Pyrotechnic Glow reminded her sister. He doesn't just want to kill Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. He wants to kill us too. Princess Huafeng sighed. She looked at Bing Chongtian and said, No matter what grudges I have with Bing Runing, I have always respected you and treated you as my uncle. However, you actually want to kill us. You really disappoint me. Bing Chongtian lowered his head in shame. More than that. Back then, Bing Runing killed her sister in the heavy region and lied to her people. She even used us to deal with Qin Feiyang. But when the truth came out, did we ever hurt her? Even when our father knew about it, he didn't go after you. We sympathized with her. We didn't want the dragons and the Kailan clan to laugh at us. We didn't want the Feng people to fall apart because of internal strife. You can ask your conscience. How have the Fire Phoenix clan treated the Ice Phoenix clan all these years? We have tolerated you again and again. Is this what you get in return for our kindness? Do you really think the Fire Phoenix clan is weak and won't dare to make trouble for you? Huazihue shouted angrily, feeling indignant. They had gone too far. Princess Huafeng patted Pyrotechnic Glow's shoulder and looked at Bing Changtian and Bing Runing. She shook her head and said, "That's all we have to say. Think about it." "Don't think about it. I haven't started yet." The white-eyed wolf grinned and glanced at the group with a hint of mockery in his eyes. The group looked at the white-eyed wolf and couldn't help but shiver. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Send us to the Soul-Sealing Valley." Qin Feiyang was stunned. The Soul-Sealing Valley. Princess Huafeng was shocked. It was in the Soul-Sealing Valley when Qin Feiyang forced her to take the blood oath. Just hearing the name made her scalp tingle. She came back to her senses and looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. She asked, "Isn't this a bit too much? Too much? Are you still sleepwalking? You almost died in their hands. How can you be so kind?" The white-eyed wolf glared at her. "Indeed. These people should be taught a lesson." Qin Feiyang nodded. With a wave of his hand, the white-eyed wolf, Blood Dragon Blade, Bing Changtian, and the others disappeared without a trace. With the white-eyed wolf and Blood Dragon Blade, this group of people couldn't do anything. "Sister, what is the Soul-Sealing Valley? Is it scary?" Pyrotechnic Glow was curious. Daifuku and Bing Changtian were also suspicious. "It's more than scary." Princess Huafeng shook her head and whispered in their ears. When they heard about the Soul-Sealing Valley, the three of them couldn't help but feel scared. This place was simply everyone's nightmare. However, these people were usually high and mighty overlords. They were arrogant and looked down on everyone. Now that they had fallen to this point, it was quite satisfying to think about it. Qin Feiyang looked at Princess Fire Phoenix and Pyrotechnic Glow and said with a smile, "Put away the sovereign divine weapons." "Okay." The siblings nodded. When the sovereign divine weapons dispersed, Qin Feiyang landed on a mountain peak on the island. He took out a tea table, chairs, and ancient dragon god tea and began to make tea. "What do you mean?" Princess Huafeng and the others looked at each other. Sea Lion also flew to Qin Feiyang with a puzzled face and asked, "Boss Qin, what's going on? Who are those people that Brother Wolf brought to the Black Tortoise realm?" "They all have great backgrounds," Li Yao said. "The 9 great patriarchs of the dragons, the patriarch of the Ice Phoenix clan, and the younger brother of the patriarch of the Fire Qilin clan." Qin Feiyang smiled. "What?" Sea Lion was shocked. After hanging out with Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf for so long, it knew a little about the situation of the various forbidden areas. The people in these places were all terrifying existences. But now, they had all fallen into the hands of Boss Qin? Amazing. Princess Huafeng brought Pyrotechnic Glow and Daifuku down and frowned. "Why are you still in the mood to drink tea?" "I'm not the one who wants to drink. This is prepared for Feng Ho, Dragon King, and the Qilin Lord. After all, they are honored guests." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he took out a jar of unparalleled divine wine from the Black Tortoise realm and placed it on the table. "Is this prepared for me?" Pyrotechnic Glow's eyes lit up. "You?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "Why don't you look in the mirror? Are you qualified? What are you doing?" This jar of unparalleled divine wine was, of course, prepared for the little rabbit. After settling everything, Qin Feiyang did not sit down and lowered his head to ponder. Buzz. Suddenly, a sound transmission godstone buzzed. Sea Lion was stunned, took out a sound transmission godstone, and looked up at Qin Feiyang. This was the sound transmission godstone that Qin Feiyang asked it to keep. Needless to say, it must be the little princess of the dragons, because this sound transmission godstone could only establish a contract bridge with her. Qin Feiyang looked up at the sound transmission godstone, then glanced at Princess Huafeng and the other three, then took the sound transmission godstone and entered the Devil's Land. As the sound transmission godstone recovered, the shadow of the little princess of the dragons appeared. "You're actually fine?" Seeing Qin Feiyang appear in front of her without any injuries, the little princess of the dragons was very surprised. "You can't wait for something to happen to me?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. Of course, the little princess of the dragons was also quite straightforward. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Sorry, it's not me who's in trouble, it's them." "It can't be." The little princess of the dragons was shocked. "You'll know soon." Not long ago you sent me a message. It couldn't be to inform me that there was an ambush in the Death Glacier, right? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. You're thinking too much. We're enemies. Let's talk about it later. That big brother of mine is not dead. Why should I help you? The little princess of the dragons snorted coldly. Haha, it seems that you're still a cold-faced but warm-hearted girl. Qin Feiyong laughed. Stop flattering me. The little princess of the dragons rolled her eyes, and then said, Let me tell you, you must do what you promised me before. Next time. The next time I meet the first prince of the dragons, I'll end his life. As for last time, I was actually quite surprised. But there's no other way. Long Chun saved me. I have to return this favor to him. Qin Feiyong said. All right. The little princess of the dragons nodded. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, But then again, this time you've actually saved your father's life by informing me. The little princess of the dragons frowned her beautiful brows and said, Don't tell me they've all fallen into your hands? Otherwise, just wait and see. The white dragon sword and the other sovereign divine weapons should soon return to the dragon's nest. At that time, your Lord Dragon King may personally come to find me. Qin Feiyong smiled playfully. You're really a terrifying enemy. The little princess of the dragons shook her head. Likewise. Qin Feiyong smiled. To be honest, this little princess of the dragons really made him a little wary, because it was difficult to see through her. All right. I'll wait for your good news. After the little princess of the dragons finished speaking, she turned off the sound transmission god stone. At this moment, she was sitting in a pavilion in a courtyard, with a pot of tea in front of her, emitting a faint tea fragrance. After turning off the sound transmission god stone, she lowered her head and fell into deep thought. Linglong, you really are colluding with Qin Feiyong. But suddenly, a silver-haired middle-aged man walked out of the void and looked at the little princess of the dragons angrily. Father. The little princess of the dragons was shocked, and quickly got up to look at the silver dragons. Earlier, when you told me not to ambush Qin Feiyong, I found it strange, so I've been monitoring you here. You really are bold. Do you know what the consequences will be if Lord Dragon King finds out about this? The silver dragon set up a soundproof barrier, his face ashen. Seeing this scene with his own eyes, his heart was really angry to the extreme. He never thought that his daughter would actually collude with the enemy of the dragons. Chapter 36-43. The little princess of the dragons lowered her head, as if she was a little afraid, but also a little wronged. Seeing her like this, the silver dragons couldn't help but feel distressed. He stepped forward and stroked the hair on his daughter's forehead, sighing. Linglong, it's been so many years, are you still unable to let it go? The little princess of the dragons slapped away her father's hand and turned to look at the ground behind her. Her eyes were slightly red, interrupted by tears. The silver dragons felt extremely guilty and said, All these years in your eyes, father must have been a very useless person. No. Hearing this, the little princess of the dragons quickly turned to look at her father and shook her head. Daughter has never thought so, because daughter knows that father has his own difficulties. Thank you for your understanding. The silver-haired patriarch smiled. Daughter is too considerate of father. That's why I didn't dare to tell you, because I didn't want to make things difficult for you. But there are some things that daughter must do. Otherwise, daughter won't be at ease for the rest of her life. Although I'm cooperating with Qin Feiyong now, father, please believe me, I know what's appropriate. The little princess of the dragons said with a pleading expression. The silver dragon saw that his daughter didn't have any selfish intentions and said angrily, But do you know what the consequences will be if this matter is exposed? Daughter already knew when she took the first step. But daughter doesn't regret it. And it won't implicate father and our silver dragon clansmen. The little princess of the dragons said, Linglong, why do you have to do this? In this world, there are actually many things that are worth cherishing. The silver dragon said anxiously. Yes, I admit it. But no matter what, it can never replace brother's love. Father, if you really want to stop me, it's best to kill me now, otherwise I won't stop taking revenge on them. The little princess of the dragons revealed a stubborn side. Her eyes filled with hatred. You. The silver dragons raised his arm. The little princess of the dragons was not afraid at all. Instead, she tiptoed and moved closer to the silver-haired patriarch's hand. The Silver Dragon clan leader felt an indescribable heartache at the sight of his stubborn daughter. He slowly lowered his arm and sighed. "Go ahead and do what you need to do. I'll take care of everything for you." After saying that, he turned around and dispersed the sound barrier and walked out of the door. But suddenly, he stopped again, pondered for a moment and said, "Protect yourself well, don't be used by Qin Feiyang." After saying that, he walked out without looking back, disappearing from the sight of the little princess of the dragon race. "Father, thank you." The little princess of the dragons muttered clang. Suddenly, several terrifying divine auras appeared in the sky above the dragon lair. Dominators, the dragon race's little princess was shocked, and she quickly walked out of the pavilion. She raised her head and saw the white dragon sword and the other 9 sovereign divine weapons rushing into the depths of the dragon nest. "Qin Feiyang, you are indeed formidable." Soul Sealing Valley. After finishing the conversation with the little princess of the dragons, Qin Feiyang came to the Soul Sealing Valley. This time, Qi Xiong and the others had been suppressed in the Soul Sealing Valley by the White-Eyed Wolf and the Blood Dragon Blade. Without exception, they were all roaring with resentment. They never thought that they would face such torture. Not to mention them, even the Blood Dragon Blade couldn't help but feel afraid when he looked at the Soul Sealing Valley. This was simply the behavior of a demon. Scream, scream. Scream as loud as you can. That's more exciting. The white-eyed wolf stood in the air, blocking his nostrils and laughing. Watching them struggle and roar in the Soul Sealing Valley was more enjoyable than directly killing them. "Qin Feiyang?" The Blood Dragon Blade noticed the arrival of Qin Feiyang, and couldn't help but feel a sense of fear in his heart. He then flew in front of Qin Feiyang and said in admiration, "Your method of torturing people is really brilliant. How did you think of it?" There was a hint of flattery in his words. "You'll have to ask the white-eyed wolf." Qin Feiyang smiled. "As expected, it's this shameless wolf cub." The Blood Dragon Blade muttered. Before it had also thought this way. That was because although Qin Feiyang was vicious and merciless toward his enemies, he would not go so far as to think of such a wicked move. "Are you afraid of the Dragon King's revenge?" Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at the Blood Dragon Blade and asked. The Blood Dragon Blade sighed. "We've already come this far. What's the use of being afraid?" "Seems that you're still afraid. How strong is this Dragon King?" Qin Feiyang was curious. "Very strong. You'll know when you fight with him in the future." There was a sense of awe in the Blood Dragon Blade's words. "Don't worry. Since you've already joined me, no matter what happens, I'll stand with you." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. The Blood Dragon Blade was taken aback. This sentence sounded quite pleasant. "Little Qin Zi. Look at them, they're so cute." The white-eyed wolf also ran over at this time and chuckled. "Cute?" The Blood Dragon Blade was speechless. This was a disgusting face, okay? It really didn't know what this wolf cub's eyes were. "Let them soak for a while." Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-eyed wolf asked, "Then when should we kill them?" "Not kill." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Not kill." The white-eyed wolf and the Blood Dragon Blade couldn't help but be stunned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "What do we need the most now?" "Nonsense. Of course, we need more chips to make the Dragon King and the others hesitate." The white-eyed wolf said without hesitation. "Wrong. We need time. As for chips, if we really anger the Dragon King, it's useless no matter how many we have." Qin Feiyang shook his head. The Blood Dragon Blade said, "That makes sense. With the Dragon King's character, once he's angered, he'll even kill his own people." "He'll even kill his own people?" The white-eyed wolf was shocked. "You don't understand him. He's a devil. I've been in the world for so many years, and I've never met anyone more ruthless than him. So when you face him in the future, you'd better stop before going too far." The Blood Dragon Blade warned. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at the white-eyed wolf, and explained, "The golden dragons and the others are no longer a concern for us. We can kill them at any time. But now they are very good chips because they can help us by 1,000 years." "I see. Now the Feng people and the Kirin clan have a 1,000-year agreement with us. The only thing missing is the dragons. You want to use these people to negotiate with the Dragon King." The white-eyed wolf was suddenly enlightened. That's right. If the Dragon King also agrees to our request for 1,000 years, then we can concentrate on cultivating without any worries during this period of time. Qin Feiyang laughed. The white-eyed wolf asked, in that case, why not 10,000 years? 100,000 years? The Feng people and the Kirin clan have a 1,000-year agreement with us. Do you think the Dragon King will agree to our conditions of 10,000 years or 100,000 years? We'll talk about it later. Just now, the Blood Dragon Blade said that we should stop before going too far with the Dragon King. We can't force him too much. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at it. All right. The golden dragons and the others are really nothing to us. It doesn't matter to let them live a little longer. However, they can't escape punishment. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Now, the only thing they were afraid of was the Dragon King, the Kirin Master, Feng Ho, and the sovereign divine weapons of the 3 forbidden areas. 5,000 years in the Black Tortoise realm now. Even if only an hour has passed outside, many years have passed here. They will suffer. Qin Feiyang laughed. No matter what, it will take at least 10,000 years. The white-eyed wolf shook its head. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, that will depend on whether you can delay until tomorrow or the day after the Dragon King and the others arrive. We'll see then. The white-eyed wolf pondered for a while, waved its claws and then asked, what about Qi Xiong and his son? They can be killed, right? Logically speaking, even if we kill them now, the Kirin Master won't say anything. After all, they came to court death. But we still have to give them face. This is also the reason why I asked the Kirin Master and Feng Ho to come together. They already have a 1,000-year agreement with us. From another perspective, they are now our allies. With them and the little rabbit, the Dragon King will agree to our conditions more easily. In short, Qi Xiong and the other small fries can be killed at any time. There's no hurry. Qin Feiyang laughed. Okay. I'll listen to you. Who asked you to make sense? The white-eyed wolf laughed. Then let's go and wait for these big shots. Qin Feiyang smiled and appeared at the top of the mountain with the blood dragon blade and the white-eyed wolf. Awesome. As soon as he came out, he saw the pyrotechnic glow holding a wine jar and drinking leisurely. Qin Feiyang saw that the unparalleled divine brew on the table had disappeared, and his face darkened. This little rascal really didn't know how to be polite. I don't know him. Princess Fire Phoenix smiled awkwardly and turned her head to look elsewhere. Qin Feiyang had no choice but to take out another jar of unparalleled divine brew, and put it on the table. Pyrotechnic glow immediately pointed at the divine brew and said to the white-eyed wolf, Brother Wolf, Qin Dage is treating. Don't be shy. The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. He looked at Princess Huafeng and whispered, Your little brother seems to be even more shameless than me. I said I don't know him. Princess Huafeng glared at the white-eyed wolf. You're taking it out on me? Get out of here. The white-eyed wolf was furious. You want me to leave? I'm not leaving. I'm still waiting for the God-slaying tablet to evolve into a Dominator divine weapon. Princess Huafeng said angrily. The God-slaying tablet is my divine weapon now. What does it have to do with you? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Shame on you. Princess Huafeng said angrily. My 2 little ancestors, can you stop arguing? The God-slaying tablet hasn't evolved yet. What's there to argue about? Qin Feiyang was helpless. They clearly liked each other. But they hid it in their hearts and insisted on being a quarrelsome couple. Tired of it? Anyway, Qin Feiyang despised the white-eyed wolf. He dared to love, but he didn't dare to admit it. He didn't have the dominance of a man at all. Chapter 3644. However, the Daifuka brothers were very worried about the relationship between the white-eyed wolf and the Princess Huafeng. Although the white-eyed wolf had displayed astonishing strength and was completely worthy of the Grand Princess of their Fire Phoenix clan, the relationship between the Feng people and Qin Feiyang and the others would sooner or later be broken. If it really came to this, how would the princess and the white-eyed wolf face each other? At that time, would the white-eyed wolf leave Qin Feiyang? Or would the princess leave the Feng people? Or would they break off their relationship and fight to the death? No matter which choice it was, it would cause them great harm. About half an hour passed. A terrifying aura descended upon the sky above the heavenly cloud sea. Moreover, from this aura one could feel a monstrous anger and killing intent. In an instant, all the creatures in the heavenly cloud sea were alarmed. One had to know. The heavenly cloud sea was even vaster than the 4 continents. To be able to alarm the entire heavenly cloud sea, one could imagine how strong the person who came was. At the same time, the 8 beast emperors that were scattered all over the place walked out of their caves and looked up at the sky above the sea. What's going on? You actually came to our heavenly cloud sea in anger? The Sea Lion Emperor and the other 8 beast emperors couldn't help but frown. Sea Lion Island. Qin Feiyong and the others were also shocked as they scanned the sky above the sea in the distance. This is the aura of the Dragon King. He has been to the phoenix nest before, so he is familiar with his aura. Princess Huafeng's pupils contracted. This is the strength of the Dragon King. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. This aura was even more dangerous than when they saw the white-bearded old man's law of darkness in the Qilin Holy Land. Ooh! It was useless to be afraid. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and laughed. To find the heavenly cloud sea in half an hour, your speed is quite fast. You're the only one who can still laugh. Daifuku shook his head and sighed. Even if he had the Feng people behind him, he couldn't help but feel nervous. The problems in this world will not be solved just because you are nervous. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. No matter what, he had to maintain a calm heart. Boom! Qin Feiyong's voice had yet to fall when a powerful divine sense enveloped the entire heavenly cloud sea. Under this divine sense there was nowhere for them to hide. Swish! The next moment, a blurry figure descended above Sea Lion Island. Boss Qin, Boss Wolf, don't blame me for not being loyal. I really don't dare to stay here any longer. Take care. As soon as the sea lion saw, he turned his head didn't look back. Look diced. It can't really. After all, in the current sky cloud realm, there are not many who dare to face the Lord Dragon King directly. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Greetings, Lord Dragon King. Princess Huafeng, the Daifuku brothers, and Pyrotechnic Glow also quickly put down the wine jar and bowed. The Dragon King's entire body was shrouded in a mist of light, making it impossible to see his true appearance. However, the terrifying aura that was surging around him caused the surrounding void to collapse. It was as if this world could not bear his anger. He didn't answer. The void was dead silent. But Qin Feiyong, White-Eyed Wolf, and Blood Dragon Blade could feel that the Dragon King was looking at them with eyes as sharp as a blade. Qin Feiyong and White-Eyed Wolf were fine. They had even faced Small Beast and Ice Dragon, let alone the Dragon King. No matter how strong the Dragon King was, could he be stronger than Ice Dragon and Small Beast? But Blood Dragon Blade was extremely nervous. Even as a sovereign divine weapon, he had a kind of fear from the bottom of his heart towards the Dragon King. Qin Feiyong. Golden-Winged Wolf King. Blood Dragon Blade. Good. Very good. Dragon King suddenly spoke. However, he only said those few words. After that, his frightening aura surged toward Qin Feiyong and the others like a tide. Even Princess Huafeng and the other 3 were not excluded. Dragon King, what are you doing? Suddenly, a pleasant yet cold voice rang out. Swish. The next moment, another figure shrouded in flames descended in the sky. Lord Feng Ho. Princess Huafeng and the other 3 were as if they saw their savior. Dragon King, who gave you the courage to hurt the children of the Feng people? Feng Ho's tone had a trace of anger. A terrifying aura emerged and blasted towards the Dragon King's aura. The 2 auras collided with a loud bang. Heaven and earth instantly fell into darkness. Following closely, accompanied by a loud bang, Qin Feiyong and the others saw a scene of heaven and earth shattering in front of them. You two don't hurt the innocent sea beasts. Otherwise, when Little Rabbit comes, she will definitely settle the score with you. Another hoarse laugh rang out. It was the Lord of Kirin. Qin Feiyong and the others were naturally familiar with the voice of the Lord of Kirin. Swish. The next moment, the Lord of Kirin appeared in the sky, his whole body shrouded in endless flames. As he waved his hand, an invisible force emerged and enveloped all directions. The aura fluctuations that filled the sky immediately dissipated in the void. Phew! Princess Huafeng and the other three could not help but let out a long breath. The oppressive feeling of these supreme existences was really suffocating. Qin Feiyong glanced at the three, cupped his hands and smiled. This junior has already prepared the divine tea. Please take a seat. Feng Ho and the Lord of Kirin looked down at the top of the mountain. They had actually prepared the divine tea, so they were not worried at all? Why are you here again? Could it be that you really want to find a tomb in the sky cloud sea? Another teasing voice sounded. The little rabbit appeared out of thin air. Tomb? Qin Feiyong and the others were stunned. In the entire sky cloud realm, only this little rabbit dared to speak to the three lords of the forbidden area like this. Qin Feiyong looked at the little rabbit and said with a smile, "Big brother, the wine has also been prepared for you." Not bad, not bad, third brother is sensible. The little rabbit lowered her head and saw the unparalleled divine wine on the table. She immediately landed on the top of the mountain, hugged the wine jar, and lay on the chair prepared by Qin Feiyong, and gulped down the wine. Big brother? Third brother? Pyrotechnic glow glanced at Qin Feiyong and the little rabbit. Were they so close? The little rabbit took a big gulp, looked up at the three lords of the forbidden area, and said suspiciously, "Divine tea, divine wine, they have all been prepared for you. Why are you still standing up there? Do you want Uncle Rabbit to personally deliver it to you?" How could we dare to trouble you? The Lord of Kirin and Feng Ho smiled and landed on the top of the mountain, sitting opposite each other. Although they were covered in flames, they did not hurt Qin Feiyong and the others, nor did they burn the chairs and tea tables. Humph! Dragon King snorted and also landed on the top of the mountain, sitting opposite the little rabbit. That's right. If there's something, we can talk about it slowly. Why do you have to fight as soon as you come? How harmful! The little rabbit chuckled and glanced at Qin Feiyong. Third brother, tell me, how did you provoke these three old farts? Old farts? Qin Feiyong and the others' mouths twitched. They really did not give any face to the three lords of the forbidden area. Qin Feiyong revealed a wronged expression and said bitterly, "Big brother, you can't blame us for this. We are the biggest victims. If not for our cleverness, we wouldn't have been able to send you off in the future." What the hell? The little rabbit raised an eyebrow. Cough cough. No. If not for our cleverness, we wouldn't have been able to see you again, big brother. Qin Feiyong quickly corrected himself with a smile. Then what's the situation? Don't be afraid. As long as you're in the right, I'll stand up for you. The little rabbit patted her chest and said as she drank. Looking at the majestic little rabbit, Xiao Fu transmitted her voice. Brother, I also want to have a big brother like this. With such a big brother, wouldn't she be able to do whatever she wanted? Daifuka's mouth twitched and said angrily in his mind, "Sorry, you reincarnated in the wrong body. Your big brother is not that powerful." Heh. Xiao Fu chuckled secretly. Qin Feiyong sighed and looked at the little rabbit. Big brother, it's like this. Right then. Thus, he recounted everything that had happened in detail. What? Hearing that, the little rabbit slammed the tea table and looked at the three lords of the Forbidden Lands, saying angrily, "What is the meaning of this? How dare you bully Lord Rabbit's little brother like this? Are you not giving Lord Rabbit face?" Cough cough. The Qilin Lord coughed dryly and said with a smile, "This is indeed Qi Xiong's fault. I apologize." Sorry. Feng Ho also smiled awkwardly. If they were facing someone else now, even if their clansmen were in the wrong, they wouldn't show the slightest bit of apology. But there was no other way. Now they were facing this little rabbit. Dragon King, why aren't you saying anything? To be honest, Lord Rabbit is really impressed by your old face. It was clearly your clansmen who provoked you first, and in the end, you came to find trouble with my little brother so righteously. Don't you dragons have the word shame in your dictionary? The little rabbit looked at Dragon King with a face full of ridicule. Crack. The sound of joints colliding rang out one after another. It was obvious. Dragon King, who was shrouded in divine light, had already clenched his fists. Don't look like you're going to eat someone. The little rabbit didn't care at all. Looking at Qin Feiyong and White-Eyed Wolf, he nodded and said, "You guys did well. You didn't embarrass Big Brother. Big Brother supports you." Thank you for the praise, Big Brother. Qin Feiyong chuckled. With such a big brother, it's hard to keep a low profile. Sister, when will you be able to protect me like this? I really hope that one day, I can be a super playboy without any worries. Pyrotechnic Glow shook his head and sighed. Scram. Princess Huafeng glared at him. She also wanted to have such a big brother. But how is that possible? There was no point in being envious. The little rabbit drank a mouthful of divine wine, looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, Third brother, where are they now? Other than Bing Runing's 3 followers, the others are still alive. They are now being suppressed in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyong said, What the hell? They're still alive. What did Big Brother usually tell you? We don't cause trouble, but we're not afraid of trouble. Those who dare to come and provoke us, no matter what kind of backer they have, we'll kill them all. The little rabbit said angrily, That's not good. Qin Feiyong glanced at the 3 lords of the Forbidden Lands. What's not good about it? If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll send them to see the old king of hell. The little rabbit slammed the tea table and roared. Chapter 36:45. Yes. Big brother, don't be angry. I will remember it in the future. Qin Feiyong nodded repeatedly. Useless. The little rabbit glared at Qin Feiyong, then looked up at the 3 lords of the Forbidden Lands and said indifferently, Tell me, how are you going to compensate them for their mental damage? Damage? The 3 lords of the Forbidden Lands were stunned. You came all the way here, aren't you compensating them for their damage? The little rabbit raised her eyebrows. Hearing this, the corners of the Qilin Master and Feng Ho's mouths twitched. Let's not talk about us first. Look at the Dragon King. Does he look like he's here to compensate for their damage? Have you had enough? The Dragon King finally spoke, his patience almost reaching its limit. The little rabbit said, How is this messing around? We're just trying to reason, okay? Your people hurt them for no reason, shouldn't you compensate them? The Dragon King exuded a shocking aura and said in a deep voice, I've already given you enough face, don't push your luck. I'm not in the mood to talk nonsense with you. Release them immediately. So, Uncle Rabbit has to thank you for giving me this face? The little rabbit's eyes flickered with a cold light. The Dragon King suddenly stood up and said angrily, Don't forget our agreement. Hearing this, the little rabbit couldn't help but fall silent. Agreement? Qin Feiyong and the others looked at each other. What agreement? The Dragon King said coldly, If you don't keep your word, then don't blame me for being impolite. The sea of heavenly clouds is very strong, but do you think the dragons, will be afraid of you? The little rabbit held the wine jar, raised her head, and drank it in one breath. She slammed the wine jar and also stood up, staring at the Dragon King and said, Then let's try. The Dragon King clenched his fists. Everyone present could feel a bone-piercing murderous intent from him. The little rabbit was not to be outdone. If you want to fight, then fight, don't involve us. After all, we have a 1,000-year agreement with Qin Feiyong. Don't you think so, Qilin Master? Feng Ho said with a smile. Yes. The Qilin Master nodded. When the Dragon King heard this, his brows involuntarily raised. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly. He looked at the Dragon King and said with a smile, Lord Dragon King, you don't have to be so angry. We can discuss things slowly. As long as you agree to this junior's condition, this junior will immediately hand him over. What qualifications do you have to negotiate with me? Dragon King's words were full of contempt. This junior is indeed not qualified to negotiate with you, Lord Dragon King. After all, the 9 great clans' clan heads do not hold much weight in your heart. However, if you don't even save your own people, what do you think people will say about you behind your back? Although you're powerful, how are you going to shut the mouths of everyone? Of course, if you don't care about these criticisms, then just pretend that I never said anything. Qin Feiyong smiled. What a glib tongue. Dragon King sneered. Thank you, Lord, for the compliment. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and smiled. He continued, actually, this junior's condition is not too difficult. Why don't you listen to what I have to say first? Dragon King pondered for a moment and said coldly, Then tell me. 10,000 years. Within 10,000 years, we will temporarily put aside our grudges and live in peace. Qin Feiyong smiled. When the Dragon King heard this, a murderous aura suddenly rose from his body. 10,000 years? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Not long ago in the Black Tortoise world, didn't he say 1,000 years? Why did it become 10,000 years? At the same time, Feng Ho and the Qilin master were also pondering in their hearts. They thought that Qin Feiyang would definitely use the 9 great clans' clan heads as bargaining chips to make some excessive demands of the Dragon King. They did not expect it to be just like this. 10,000 years for people of their level was just a blink of an eye. Qin Feiyang looked at the Dragon King and said with a smile, "This request is not excessive." What a joke. You, the Feng people, and the Qilin clan all have a 1,000-year agreement. When it comes to me, it becomes a 10,000-year agreement. Do you think that my dragons are inferior to them? Dragon King shouted. Exactly the opposite. In this junior's heart, the dragons are the most powerful existences. It is precisely because this junior does not have the confidence to surpass the dragons within 1,000 years that I proposed a 10,000-year agreement. Qin Feiyang's flattery could satisfy the Dragon King's vanity. Qin Feiyang, from what you said, you have the confidence to surpass the Feng people and the Qilin clan within 1,000 years? Feng Ho said with a slightly cold tone. I dare not, I dare not. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. Humph! This senior thinks that you are too arrogant. Feng Ho snorted coldly. Yes, yes, yes. Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly and transmitted his voice. This junior will apologize to the 2 seniors later. Haha, what he said is not unreasonable. My dragons are originally stronger than you. Dragon King laughed. Feng Ho and the Qilin clan snorted. Dragon King stopped laughing and looked at Qin Feiyang. Don't think that this senior will fall into your trap just because of some flattery. Don't say that this senior did not give you a chance. Just like the Feng people and the Qilin clan, I will give you 1,000 years. This. Qin Feiyang looked a little unwilling. This is this senior's greatest limit. It's best if you agree. If not, don't blame this senior for being ruthless. Dragon King said. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed and nodded. Okay. Thank you, Lord Dragon King. The white-eyed wolf suddenly realized that Qin Feiyang deliberately proposed 10,000 years. Because if he directly proposed a 1,000-year agreement, the Dragon King might reduce the time. At least you know your place. Since this senior has agreed to your conditions, you have to satisfy this senior's request. Dragon King said. What request? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Dragon King glanced at the blood dragon blade and said, Give it to this senior. The blood dragon blade was shocked. Sure enough, he did not intend to let it go. In fact, it had already expected that because the Dragon King would not allow anyone to betray him, but it always had a trace of luck in its heart. Blood dragon blade? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and turned to look at the blood dragon blade floating beside him. The blood dragon blade was extremely nervous. If Qin Feiyang really handed it over to the Dragon King, it would definitely not have a good ending. Qin Feiyang suddenly smiled and turned to look at the Dragon King, shaking his head. Impossible. You're courting death. The Dragon King's killing intent reappeared. The blood dragon blade is now this junior's partner. No matter how heartless this junior is, it is impossible for this junior to abandon his partner. Qin Feiyang's attitude was very firm. Partner. When the blood dragon blade heard this, it suddenly had mixed feelings. In fact, it had always hated Qin Feiyang. If it were not for Qin Feiyang, how could it reach this step today? Moreover, in its opinion, what Qin Feiyang valued was its value and strength. But it never thought that he would actually treat it as his partner. Partner, these 2 words were too unfamiliar to a dominator weapon like it, and it had never experienced such warm care. The atmosphere became solemn. Looking at the silent Dragon King, Qin Feiyang firmly said, Senior, you have a bottom line. This junior also has a bottom line. Are you not afraid that this senior will go back on his word? The Dragon King said gloomily. If senior really wants to be a person who doesn't keep his word, what else can this junior say? At worst, I will die. It is worth it to be able to drag the 9 patriarchs down with me. Moreover, this junior will not necessarily die. When Qin Feiyang said the last sentence, his eyes suddenly became extremely fierce. Feng Ho smiled and said, Little guy, you are very confident. I dare not. However, in today's Sky Cloud realm, Except for the few of you, I think there is no one who is a match for me and the white-eyed wolf, Qin Feiyong said with a faint smile. The white-eyed wolf also took a step forward and landed beside Qin Feiyong. Looking at the Dragon King, he said, "Yes, we will not leave any of our partners behind. If you really want to fight, we will accompany you to the end." Qin Feiyong, white-eyed wolf, Blood Dragon Blade looked at this scene and was extremely moved. This feeling of being cared for, taken care of, and cared for was really good. But at the same time, the Dragon King's murderous aura became more and more terrifying. How about this? Let's let the Blood Dragon Blade choose for itself. The little rabbit bared its teeth. Feng Ho and the Qilin Lord were speechless. If the Blood Dragon Blade were to choose for itself, it would definitely choose Qin Feiyong and the Golden-Winged Wolf King. Because choosing the Dragon King would definitely not end well. This favoritism was too obvious. Otherwise, what good ideas do you have? My little brother neither stole nor robbed. He relied on his own sincerity and hard work to persuade the Blood Dragon Blade to abandon the dark and join the light. What? Can't others change their ways and become a new person? Let's talk about it later. Who has the confidence to suppress the sovereign divine weapon one-on-one? If you don't have confidence, how can you control their fate? Are you dragons and the 9 sovereign divine weapons going to join forces to suppress the Blood Dragon Blade? The little rabbit looked at the Dragon King playfully. The Dragon King was furious and shouted, "Let them go." That's right. That's the demeanor of an expert. The little rabbit chuckled. Little Qinzi, do you really want to let them go now? The white-eyed wolf transmitted his voice, a little unwilling. What else can we do? Now the Dragon King is extremely angry. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid we will completely enrage him. Don't worry. There will be plenty of time in the future. There will be opportunities to torture them in the future. Qin Feiyong thought to himself. The white-eyed wolf heard this and nodded. All right, you decide. Qin Feiyong glanced at the 3 lords of the forbidden areas. As he waved his hand, the divine souls of Qi Xiong and the others appeared. As their divine souls appeared, a pungent stench immediately filled the air above the island. What's going on? The little rabbit jumped far away with a whoosh. The 3 lords of the forbidden areas were also dumbfounded. Master Dragon King, Ancestor, Master Feng Ho, you have to make a decision for us. When Bing Chongtian and the others saw the 3 lords of the forbidden areas, they immediately ran up to them like children who had been wronged and complained tearfully. However, the 3 lords of the forbidden areas also retreated far away in disdain. Princess Huafeng and the others saw this scene and could not help but laugh. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and glanced at the group of people suspiciously. He asked, "What's wrong with you, bastard? Are you still playing dumb?" Bing Runing shouted angrily. For a woman it was worse than death. Why are you playing dumb? Why don't I understand what you're saying? Didn't I arrange a place for you in the Black Tortoise realm with a very good environment and beautiful scenery? Why are you all like this? Qin Feiyong covered his nose with a puzzled expression. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.